Chapter 1936. Shinjuli looked at her deeply and replied, "Okay." He then turned around and disappeared from her sight. Ning Xuema leaned on the branch and let out a long sigh. She was so tired. It was so tiring to act in this show. She had to keep the show going so that history would not be changed too much. However, as long as she knew that Shinjuli did not betray her and still loved her, she was willing to do it even if it was very tiring. "Shinjuli, in order to get you back, in order to let you be reborn, I have to give it my all." She rubbed her eyebrows. She could not tell Shinjuli the real direction of history. Otherwise, she would have to leave again, and she did not know when she could cross over again. If she could not cross over again, perhaps little Xuema would mess things up. Or she would turn into a demon again and walk on the road of no return. She would still be cursed and history would still not change. Shinjuli would still disappear, and Luo Jiuchen would still be the master of heaven and earth. Or she and Shinjuli would solve the misunderstanding, and from then on, Ning Xuema would have nothing to do with it. Not only would she not have the memory of Shueimo and Ning Xuema, but little Nianma would also disappear. Both situations seemed to be very serious, so she might have to suffer a little. However, when she thought of little Xuema's suffering in the future, she could not help but feel cold. Her flesh and blood would be bitten by a group of demons, and she would have to endure the 10 great tortures of the Qing dynasty. She would have to be like a blind man who had his bile taken out. She would have to have a tube inserted in her heart to let someone take her blood. She was panicking just thinking about it. Sigh, if only she could skip the suffering and go straight to the part where she sealed Zisha. On top of the palace wall of Fantian Palace, Shinjuli stood there invisible, watching Ning Xuema's back gradually disappear into the distance. Suddenly, the corners of his lips curled up slightly as if he was finally relieved. He jumped down from the palace wall and slowly walked back to the study of Fantian Palace. Miao Fan was still staring at the broken wall in a daze. Shinjuli patted her shoulder. "What are you thinking? What's so interesting about a pile of bricks?" Miao Fan finally regained her senses. She roused her spirit and asked, "How is it?" Shinjuli smiled. This time his smile was a little enchanting. "Very good. The plan was a success." Miao Fan smiled and said, "Now that I have done what you asked me to do, what about him? What did you do to him? You promised me that you wouldn't really hurt him." Shinjuli smiled frivolously. "I didn't take his life. I just seriously injured him. He is probably still recuperating in some corner of the mountain. He won't be back for a while." "You said that you wouldn't seriously injure him." Miao Fan was angry, her almond-shaped eyes widened. "I only promised you that I wouldn't take his life. He is a god. He originally has an immortal body. It's not that you don't want his life, it's that you can't take it." Miao Fan exposed him. Shinjuli squinted his eyes and smiled. He sighed and said, "Miao Fan, you really know how to be a woman. If I didn't injure him, how could I come back and put on this show with you to make her give up on him? He will definitely come back after he is seriously injured. At that time you can serve him well. If necessary you can use some tricks. I don't believe that he won't agree to your marriage. Miao Fan, when necessary you have to be ruthless. You can't trap the wolf without sacrificing the child." Chapter 1937. Miao Fan pursed her lips tightly. "Until now, I still don't understand what you want. As long as Jiuli doesn't die or if he doesn't commit a grave mistake, you won't be able to take away the position of the Master God." Shinjuli smiled again, but this time it was a little evil. "I have fought with him for so many years, I can only plot against him this time to vent my anger. Also, I like that little girl and want her to be my wife." Miao Fan's eyes widened. "You like her and you still plot against her?" Shinjuli looked at her meaningfully. "You don't understand. If I don't do this, how can that little girl give up on Shinjuli? She will fall into my arms. Alright, Shinjuli should be back soon, you better seduce him as soon as possible. But he values this study the most. When he comes back and finds it burned, I'm afraid. I don't know how to explain it to him." Miao Fan was distressed. Shinjuli looked at her. "Stupid. That girl ran away, aren't you just going to push the blame to her? Say that she ran away to avoid punishment. What's more, he is so injured, the first thing he will do when he comes back is to go into seclusion. Oh, I have an idea to prevent him from asking about that girl when he comes back. Why don't you go to him now? Don't talk about the fire in the study, just focus on serving him. It's better for him to go into seclusion on the spot with his injuries." At the end he told her Shinjuli's address. Miao Fan's eyes lit up. "Good idea. I will pack up and go." Shinjuli clapped his hands. "Alright, you settle Shinjuli yourself. I still have to go and see that girl. He turned and flew away. Miao Fan was happy and nervous at the same time. She turned and ran back, wanting to take enough things and go. Unexpectedly, after running a few steps, she suddenly stopped and looked at the white-robed man standing there. She was stunned for a moment and blinked her eyes. Why are you back? Is there anything else? The man's eyes were cold and he didn't speak. Miao Fan was puzzled. What's wrong? Is there anything else you haven't explained clearly? Tell me, I'm in a hurry to find him. Where are we going to find him? The man finally spoke. Miao Fan frowned and said, We're going to the valley you mentioned just now. Didn't you say that you had severely injured him? I have to go take a look. The man said slowly, There's no need to go. You don't deserve to visit me. Miao Fan subconsciously said, I'm not visiting you, I'm visiting him. She finally realized that something was wrong and her expression changed. You are. Jioli? That man looked at her indifferently, his eyes were truly cold. Miao Fan, I didn't expect you to be so despicable. Miao Fan's face turned pale. She did not know how much Jioli had heard. She wanted to refute. Jioli. You misunderstood. I heard it all. Jioli interrupted her and took a step forward. His voice was even colder. From the beginning to the end. Miao Fan. She took a few steps back. Jioli, listen to me. She wanted to refute incoherently, but Jioli flicked his sleeve. After a while Miao Fan fell to the ground, her eyes were wide open in horror. She found that not only did her power disappear, her body suddenly shrunk. She couldn't help but raise her arm to look, and her expression changed greatly. Chapter 1938. Her white dress had turned into a red dress, which was exactly the same as the one Shuema was wearing just now. She suddenly had a bad feeling. Jioli, what are you doing? Jioli looked down at her, his eyes unfathomable. Miao Fan, you disappoint me. You shouldn't have schemed against her. Miao Fan's face turned pale. Jioli, I just like you too much. Also, she is a witch after all, she really doesn't deserve you. I did it for your own good. Whether she deserves me or not is my business, it has nothing to do with you. Miao Fan, I don't have any feelings for you, I already told you before I met her. You also said that you wouldn't have any other thoughts, and even got engaged with a venerable from the celestial race. That's why I allowed you to enter the Fantian Palace and respect you as my sister. You colluded with Luo Jiuchen to scheme against me, is this how you treat me? Miao Fan bit her lips. I got engaged because I don't want you to completely neglect me. I can't let go of you in my heart. Jioli, mother also hopes that we can become a couple. After all, we are childhood sweethearts and grew up together. Jioli looked at her indifferently. Childhood friends? Spending less than 10 days together, you're already childhood sweethearts? When he was born from the lotus, he was a little confused after he came out. He didn't know who he was or where he was going. He wandered by the water and accidentally saw little Miao Fan being bullied by a wolf spirit, so he saved her and sent her home. He was still a little kid at that time. Miao Fan's mother was grateful to him for saving her daughter, and seeing his rare handsomeness, she said that she was his mother and asked him to stay. At that time he saw that everyone else had parents but he didn't. Now that Lotus Fairy popped out and said that she was his mother, he believed her. Originally, people who casually claimed to be relatives with gods would be punished by the heavens, so the next day, Lotus Fairy encountered a thunder tribulation and was almost struck to death. It was Jioli who rushed over to block the thunder tribulation for her and finally saved her life. At the same time he also understood his identity and the responsibility he had to bear. He stayed at the Water Lily Fairy's house for a total of 10 days. Of these 10 days he spent 8 days in seclusion meditating and absorbing the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. After coming out of seclusion, he left the Water Lily Fairy's home to roam the 6 realms. A year later, when he returned, he was already an elegant young man with the identity of a god. In the past few thousand years, he was grateful to the Water Lotus Fairy for raising him, so he took care of the Water Lotus Fairy and her family. He had helped Water Lotus Fairy withstand 4 lightning tribulations. Originally, Water Lotus Fairy was just a minor immortal. If not for his help, Water Lotus Fairy might not have survived the first lightning tribulation. As for Miao Fan, her aptitude was originally ordinary. It was Jioli who refined various divine medicines for her, allowing her to successfully ascend to the immortal realm. With her current status and identity, she became one of the most outstanding women in the immortal realm. She was pursued by various noble immortals, and was even betrothed to a supremacy in the immortal realm. Shinjuli was born with incomparable handsomeness, and was also a high and mighty god. There was not the slightest bit of mortal aura around him, so the number of women who wanted to pursue him was as numerous as carps crossing the river. But he was born with a cold aura, and the powerful aura around him made people want to bow down and worship him. Even if those women had thoughts, they were scared off by his appearance and did not dare to confess. It was as if they felt that if they did, it would be blasphemy to him. Chapter 1939. Even if there were some bold and beautiful women who tried their best to confess to him, they were all coldly rejected by him. Of course, there were even more bold ones who deliberately met him when he was wandering in the six realms. They even wanted to climb into his bed when he was sleeping at night. But before they could get close to him, he would throw them into a gloomy and ghostly place with a wave of his sleeve. They were so scared that they wailed like ghosts and howled like wolves. They wandered in that place for a few days before they were released. From then on, they never dared to have any thoughts about him. And Miao Fan was very lucky. With his help, not only did she become one of the best in the immortal world, she could also enter and leave the Fantian Palace at will. This made the sisters around her almost fall into a sea of jealousy, their eyes green with envy. Miao Fan was elated. She also liked her nominal brother. One day she finally mustered up the courage to confess, but she was also mercilessly rejected by Shinjuli. He never saw her again and she was no longer allowed to enter the Fantian Palace. This made the Water Lotus Fairy and her family panic. They were originally counting on Shinjuli to support them. If they lost Shinjuli, this big tree, they would be beaten back to their original state and become a very ordinary little fairy in a pond in the lower realm. So the Water Lotus Fairy immediately forced Miao Fan to apologize to Shinjuli, saying that it was just a joke and that she would never dare to think about it. In order to remove Shinjuli's wariness, Miao Fan also agreed to the marriage proposal of a venerable in the immortal world, and held a quite grand engagement ceremony. Before the engagement, Miao Fan knelt in front of the Fantian Palace for 3 days and stated her position. Finally, she obtained Shinjuli's forgiveness. He even showed his face at her engagement ceremony, giving her enough face. She could finally enter and leave the Fantian Palace as an elder sister. The Water Lotus Fairy and her family had just adopted Shinjuli for a few days, and they were like chickens and dogs rising to heaven. It could be said that they had reaped great benefits. Shinjuli had been extremely benevolent to her family. He no longer owed her family anything. If they had to talk about what they owed, it would be her family that owed Shinjuli countless debts. Miao Fan had always wanted to get Shinjuli. She thought that no matter what she did, Shinjuli would not do anything to her for the sake of their friendship in the past. That was why she dared to do such a thing. Even if she was exposed by Shinjuli, she was not really afraid. She looked at Shinjuli and said, "Julie, I know I was wrong. Can you forgive me this time? I promise I won't do it again." Shinjuli looked at her. "Do you think there will be a next time? Then I won't dare to do it again, okay? I will still only be your elder sister." She pursed her lips and felt a little wronged. "If you are still not happy, I will apologize to you again. How about that?" Shinjuli's voice was cold. "Miao Fan, offending a god will be punished. What's more, you colluded with an outsider. Not only did you burn down my study, you also forced my wife away." Miao Fan's face changed. How can she be your wife? She is not worthy at all. Mother will not agree." Before she could finish her sentence, Shinjuli flicked his sleeve. Miao Fan could not make a sound. She looked at him with her eyes wide open. Shinjuli was shrouded in a cold aura. He slowly said, "No one has the right to interfere with my marriage, including your mother. Miao Fan, you schemed against Shuema. You have to swallow the bitter fruit you planted." Miao Fan's face changed. Chapter 1940. Miao Fan's expression changed, and she finally started to feel afraid. She actually wanted to ask what he would do to her, but her acupoints were sealed, so she couldn't say anything. She could only look at him with her eyes. How was he going to make her swallow the bitter fruit she had planted? Soon she knew. Ning Shuema sat at the junction between the 36th level of heaven and the next level of heaven, and she sighed deeply. Speaking of which, little Shuema had lost all of her abilities back then, so how did she get sent to the devil realm? She couldn't go down at all right? She felt dizzy when she looked down, and she had no doubt that if she closed her eyes and jumped down, she would be smashed into smithereens even if she landed on the 35th level of heaven, much less the devil realm. Mother Earth's story was still omitted. She realized that even if she wanted to return to the devil realm, she couldn't under such circumstances. She sat there and she was very worried. She was really worried. She knew that going down was a hell of no return, but she had to take this step. She also knew from Mother Earth that the main story of history couldn't be changed, which also meant that the calamity would still come. Billions of lives in this world were going to die in this calamity, and she was the source and culprit of this calamity. Ning Xuema actually had her own bottom line when doing things. If they didn't offend her or scheme against her, she was still very kind to others. Now that she had to go against her conscience to create such a calamity, it was still very stressful. Especially in order to create this calamity, she had to suffer a standard living punishment, and that was even more stressful. She sat there with her back viewed desolate as if she was sad. Luo Jiuchen looked at her from afar, his gaze deep and unfathomable. Then he slowly walked towards her. His footsteps were as if he was floating, making no sound. Ning Xuema, who was sitting there, did not notice him at all. Luo Jiuchen came behind her, and with a wave of his hand, Ning Xuema's body swayed and she fell down. Luo Jiuchen caught her and carried her in his arms. He looked at her little face and sighed faintly. "Xuema, I'm sorry, for my great cause I can only sacrifice you temporarily. I will marry you in the future to compensate you." He carried her and flew down. When Ning Xuema woke up again, she was in the middle of a wilderness. The sky was always filled with dark clouds, pitch-black rocks, turbid and turbulent rivers, and all kinds of bones could be seen everywhere. Very good. She had finally returned to the Devil Realm. In the distance, 7 or 8 people were running straight towards her direction. Black fog billowed around them, carrying an indescribable baleful aura. Ning Xuema shivered. What was supposed to come had finally come. To paraphrase a sentence from a certain movie, the gears of fate began to turn, and the wheels of history rolled towards her along the original trajectory. Even if she wanted to regret it now, it was too late. "It's here. Over here." Some people shouted while others cheered. Ning Xuema sat up. She had already recognized the 2 people running at the front. They were Xuema's 2 capable subordinates. Demon Master. The 2 of them were the first to arrive in front of her. They stopped about 3 meters away from her. Their eyes shone with an unfathomable light. "Devil Master, you're finally back. Are you all right? Your subordinates have been very worried about you." Ning Xuema straightened her body. Now that things had come to this, she was still a little nervous. She wanted to endure the pain for a little longer. She opened her mouth to speak, but when she opened it, she couldn't make a single sound. Damn it. That bastard Luo Jiuchen had hit her acupoints. Could it be that she couldn't even make a sound when she was suffering? Chapter 1941. When the 2 people saw her, they looked at each other and took a few steps closer. "Devil Master? How are you?" They looked extremely loyal and concerned, but their eyes were slightly erratic, and there was a hint of greed in their eyes. Ning Xuema was an expert at observing people's expressions. Just by looking at their expressions, she was able to see through their intentions. They were probably here to get the first piece of the pie. When little Xuema was powerful, these 2 people followed her around and showed their loyalty to her almost all the time. They were also good at guessing little Xuema's thoughts. No matter what they said or did, they could always get what little Xuema wanted. Little Xuema usually trusted these 2 people very much. She didn't expect them to be the first to hit her when she was down. The 2 devils could be said to be people who knew how to take advantage of the situation. When they saw Ning Xuema's appearance, they knew that the rumors were true. The Devil Master had really become a cripple. "Devil Master, let us help you up." They looked at each other again, and suddenly lightning flashed from the left and right. They had yet to reach Ning Xuema when a gust of wind suddenly blew from the ground. This gust of wind was unusually fierce, and it blew all the dust on the ground up. The sky turned dark, and in an instant they couldn't see anyone on the other side. The 2 people were stunned and stopped. Their eyes were confused by the wind and sand, and they couldn't open them for a moment. Fortunately, this gust of wind was only a small one. After a moment, the gust of wind disappeared, and the sky became clear again. The 2 people looked at the opposite side again. Their little Devil Master was still sitting there, and her eyes were full of panic. Not to mention the devil world, even in any world, it was normal for a gust of wind to appear on the ground, so the 2 people didn't take it to heart. When they saw the little Devil Master sitting there in a sorry state, their evil intentions rose again, and they laughed sinisterly. "Devil Master, why are you sitting on the ground? Come, come, let us serve you well." They reached out and pulled her up. They said to help her up, but their actions were not gentle at all. Could only be described with 4 words: simple and crude. Both of his hands touched Ning Xuema's pulse at the same time. A moment later, he suddenly burst into laughter. Little Devil Master, you also have a day like this. Ning Xuema's eyes were wide and round. Her lips moved as if she wanted to say something, but no words came out. The two devils pinched her cheeks. Little Devil Master, you're not going to scold us for being bold again, are you? Aha, we won't do anything to you. At most we'll eat you. One of the devils laughed in a particularly wretched manner. We're not eating your flesh and blood, but... He reached out and touched Ning Xuema's chest. You're a little chubby now. Then he pinched her little hand. Your skin is so fair and tender. Just looking at it makes me excited. Don't worry, your brothers will take good care of you. Haven't you always wanted to get married? We brothers will teach you what to do when you get married and let you have a good taste of being a man. Once these two devils had no scruples and revealed their true colors, they would casually spout vulgar words that were unbearable to the ears. Ning Xuema just widened her eyes and couldn't say a word. Her little face was green and white, and it was unknown whether it was because she was scared or angry. The two devils looked at the other black shadows running over from afar and frowned. It seemed that many people had received this news. There were too many monks and too little porridge. Such a small person wouldn't be enough to share. The two people looked at each other again and then said one word, "Go." Then one of them threw Ning Xuema behind him like a broken sack. Chapter 1942. One of them threw Ning Xuema on his back as if he was throwing a sack. His figure flashed as he fled into the distance, wanting to find a secluded corner to eat. Oh no! Someone beat us to it. Chase them. Chase them. Those who arrived later immediately realized that something was wrong. Smoke billowed as they chased after the two brothers. In the blink of an eye they were far away. The sound of fighting could be heard in the distance, but the place returned to its former silence. A moment later, a voice suddenly came from a nearby tree. Is this what you meant by taking advantage of the situation? Being taken advantage of by these scumbags? The voice was cold and indifferent, even with a hint of coldness. It was Shinjioli's. Cough cough, that. I didn't expect them to be so impatient. Another female voice sounded a little lacking in confidence. It was Ning Xuema's voice. Didn't expect? What else did you think but didn't want to say? Shinjioli's voice was even fainter. Haha, I thought you would save me, but I didn't expect it to be so fast. Ning Xuema hugged one of his arms and shook it fawningly. She sincerely praised, Guru, you are simply the reincarnation of Songjiang, a timely rain. Just now, when the two demons were running towards her, she thought that since she was going to throw caution to the wind today, she might as well let them bite her twice. Thus, she closed her eyes in resignation. She knew that Luo Jiuqin should be watching in the dark. At most, she would lose a few pieces of flesh. She would grit her teeth and bear with it. But she didn't expect a gust of wind to blow. Before she could react, her body was thrown into an embrace, flying up and landing on the tree. She almost sneezed because of the yellow sand blown by the wind. Fortunately, she held it back. She knew who saved her. The warm embrace behind her and the faint cold fragrance couldn't be anyone else. What she was more concerned about was whether Luo Jiuqin would guess that Shinjioli was the culprit behind her sudden abduction. Would there be any new trouble? After the gust of wind passed, she subconsciously looked down and then opened her mouth in surprise. There was another her on the place where she was sitting below. Her appearance and figure were exactly the same. Even if they were twins, it was impossible for them to look so identical. She watched helplessly as the two devils groped the body double from left to right, taking full advantage of her. A thick layer of sweat appeared on his forehead. She only knew that little Xuema had not lost her virginity, but she did not expect that she would be molested by these people. Fortunately, it was just a substitute. If it was her, that would be terrible. Just by looking at them, she had the anger of chopping off the hands of those two devils. If she had tasted this feeling herself, she would probably have the heart to grind their bones and scatter their ashes. After those people left, Shinjioli opened her acupoint with a palm and talked to her. Shinjioli's expression was not good, and his eyes were not particularly friendly. Xuema, you owe me an explanation. Ning Xuema looked up at him. If she could explain, she would have done so long ago. She also felt uncomfortable holding it in like this, okay? She reached out her small hand and put it in his palm. Then she interlocked their fingers and looked at him sincerely. Almighty, do you believe me? Shinjioli looked into her eyes and sighed after a long time. I believe you. He knew that she had her difficulties, so he didn't press her. He held her in his arms and closed his eyes slightly. Don't bear some things alone. I'll be behind you. Chapter 1943. Just these two short sentences made Ning Xuema's heart suddenly feel warm. Yes, with him behind her back, what was there to be afraid of? She pressed her small face against his chest and listened to his steady and powerful heartbeat. She felt very satisfied. She and he had loved each other for 3 lifetimes, but they were rarely together and he rarely said anything romantic. She didn't expect him to say these words today. These words were more pleasant than any words of love. It warmed her heart as if it was soaked in warm water. She cupped her eyes and looked into the distance. There were faint sounds of fighting. It was obvious that the demons were fighting fiercely to get a share of the demon master's meat soup. Julie, did you make that substitute? It really looks like me. It's like a clone of me, exactly the same. I didn't expect you to have this ability. However, is the body double you made realistic? Would they be able to bite out its true form with just one bite? By the way, what material did you use to make the substitute? Ning Xuema asked a series of questions. Shenjiuli also looked in that direction, his eyes unfathomable. He raised his hand and rubbed Ning Xuema's head. Don't worry, it's absolutely real. That Luo Jiuchen must have been watching in the dark. You were actually able to play this kind of game right under his nose. Amazing. Ning Xuema was impressed. Shenjiuli's voice was faint. I saw him, but he couldn't see me. In other words, Luo Jiuchen couldn't see that he had switched. By the way, Julie, you've already won this battle. Why did you pretend to lose? This was the most strange thing about Ning Xuema. She almost suspected that Shenjiuli had also transmigrated and came to correct history. Shenjiuli looked down at her and said calmly, I want to see what this Luo Jiuchen is up to. In fact, he didn't know what was going on. Before he went to the appointment, he had a vague feeling that Luo Jiuchen was setting a trap for him. Especially during the fight, Luo Jiuchen looked as if he was determined to win. Shenjiuli felt that his smile was an eyesore. He suddenly felt a little curious about what Luo Jiuchen would do after defeating him, so he deliberately lost. Of course, both sides were masters. His defeat was very skillful, so Luo Jiuchen couldn't tell that he did it on purpose. He pretended to be chased by Luo Jiuchen into a valley. After Luo Jiuchen left, he quietly followed behind to see what new tricks he was up to. As a result, he saw Luo Jiuchen to punish Ning Xuema. As a demigod, Luo Jiuchen usually did things in a proper manner. Even if he wasn't like a god, he was like an unrestrained immortal who wandered the 6 realms. From time to time he would do good deeds and let people worship his longevity tablet. Even though he had to compete with Shenjiuli every few decades, he did not resort to any underhanded means. Every time he lost, he would smile and say, let's compete again next time. Then he would walk away with a wave of his sleeves. He was so carefree that he did not even take a cloud with him. But this time, Luo Jiuchen first schemed against Xuema and poisoned her with the aphrodisiac. If it weren't for Xuema suddenly growing up and changing her personality, and having sex with Shenjiuli, he was afraid that he would have to use the forbidden technique to detoxify her. At that time he would have to use half of his divine power, and the competition with Luo Jiuchen had been agreed long ago, so it couldn't be changed. Chapter 1944. At first, Luo Jiuchen might have been hiding his strength. In this competition, his moves were more ruthless and insidious than the previous one. The power of each move was twice as strong as usual. Shenjiuli knew that if he really lost half of his divine power, he would be seriously injured this time. He faintly felt that Luo Jiuchen should have other schemes. Since it was a scheme, he had to dig it out fully and then uproot it. Although Shenjiuli was not a special police officer, he had the brain of a special police officer. He simply beat Luo Jiuchen at his own game and lured the snake out of its hole. He wanted to see what Luo Jiuchen's specific scheme was. What Shenjiuli didn't expect was that Luo Jiuchen's target was actually little Xuema. If he hadn't taken action in time and blocked that palm for Xuema, Xuema would have been seriously injured. Even if the God of Heaven was not merciful, he should be impartial in the affairs of the 6 realms and have a righteous heart. Even a demigod should be like this. Ordinary immortals and demons would not cause the 6 realms to suffer the consequences of evil. But if the god's heart was not righteous, it was easy for him to do things that angered the heavens and people, and then it would be out of control. Even a demigod couldn't do it. So Shenjiuli watched quietly this time to see how far he could go. The key to Luo Jiuchen's scheme this time was little Xuema. He seemed to be playing a big game with little Xuema. Shenjiuli, the god, was born to be emotionless. He didn't care about anyone or anything, but little Xuema was his weakness. He couldn't let go of her. Especially after they had an intimate relationship, he couldn't let go of her even more. It was not a good thing for a god to have a weakness. It was easy to be used as a threat. So Shinjuli was relatively cold to little Shuema at first. He treated her no differently from the other little spiritual beasts that he had adopted for a few days. Until the day she was poisoned by the aphrodisiac, he could no longer ignore her. After having intimate contact with her, he also understood his own heart. Naturally, he wanted to completely protect her under his wings and not let her suffer the slightest bit of harm. Of course, this time, even though little Shuema didn't say anything, the things she did were very strange, causing him to be puzzled no matter how much he pondered. Although he didn't understand, he still believed in her. Therefore, he made up his mind to stay by her side and save her when she was in danger. He looked into Ning Shuema's eyes. She seemed to want to say something but hesitated. In the end, she turned her eyes away from him. She started to change the topic. "Oh right, Julie, what did you do with your sister? Is she still staying in your Fantian palace?" Shinjuli glanced at the battle in the distance and replied, "She got the punishment she deserved." Shinjuli had always been fair and just. Since Miao Fan had schemed against little Shuema, then little Shuema had to bear the consequences of it, no matter whether it was good or bad. Since the substitute had suffered for her, Ning Shuema also breathed a sigh of relief. She pulled Shinjuli's sleeve and asked, "Should we follow them and have a look?" Shinjuli looked down at her and asked, "Do you want to go?" Ning Shuema rubbed her nose. She actually just wanted to follow them and see if the substitute had been exposed. However, if Shinjuli kept following them and saw that the substitute was bitten all over and suffered from the 10 great tortures of the Qing dynasty, she didn't know if he couldn't help but directly kill these demons and save the substitute. Chapter 1945. If that was the case, there might be a change in the plan. Just as she was hesitating, Shinjuli carried her and flew up. "Since you want to see, I'll bring you there." Ning Shuema. Actually, it was him who wanted to see too, right? What Ning Shuema didn't expect was that in just an hour, the situation had escalated to a white-hot state. Countless corpses of the devil race were strewn all over the ground, including the 2 devils who wanted to take the substitute for themselves. They didn't get any benefits and had instead paid with their lives. It was just like the saying, "Humans die for wealth and birds die for food." The Devil Master's meat was indeed Tang Seng's meat, but it also depended on whether you had the ability to eat it. Now this substitute was being carried horizontally in the arms of a tall and burly devil. Fresh blood flowed down her red dress, and her little face was forcefully buried in the devil's arms. That was why Ning Shuema couldn't see her expression, but he could see that her body was trembling like a leaf in the wind. There were 7 to 8 other devils surrounding this devil who was carrying the substitute. Flashes of knives and shadows of swords, fresh blood, and cries of agony splattered all over this wasteland. Even though that devil was strong, he couldn't do it alone. Even a good tiger couldn't fight against a pack of wolves. Soon he was showing signs of defeat under the attacks of those 7 to 8 devils. In a moment of carelessness, his shoulder even suffered a stab, and he almost threw the girl in his arms away. He probably knew that he couldn't salvage the situation, but he wasn't willing to give away the fat meat in his mouth just like that. He actually took advantage of the fight to take a big bite out of the arm of the girl in his arms, tearing off a piece of flesh. The girl in his arms gave off a grunt like a wild beast that had its mouth tied. Her body instantly stiffened, and it was obvious that she was in extreme pain, yet she couldn't cry out. This scene was abnormally bloody, and even Ning Shuema, who had been on the battlefield for a long time, broke out in cold sweat. If it wasn't for Shinjuli saving her, she would be the one suffering all of this now. Even though he knew from Mother Earth that little Shuema would face this calamity back then, seeing it with his own eyes was still very impactful. Little Shuema had never suffered like this before, but because of her love for Shinjuli, she had to suffer such inhumane torture. It was no wonder that once she regained her freedom, she would immediately turn into a demon and crazily seek revenge. Shinjuli's expression was also extremely ugly. If he really lost this battle with Luo Jiuchen and couldn't come back in time, then his Shuema would really have to endure such torture. Thinking of this, he even felt a little scared and hugged the person in his arms even tighter. Ning Shuema murmured, "Julie, the dummy you made looks like a real one. It can bleed and tremble. It doesn't look fake at all." She then looked at the devil that was biting this substitute. After he took a bite and swallowed it, he threw the girl in his arms towards a rather powerful devil that was attacking him. That devil naturally caught her in passing, and thus the other devils that were on the same side as him all turned their spears towards him. There was another bloody battle and another round of snatching. More and more devils came to fight over the spoils. The time that this substitute stayed beside the devils became shorter and shorter. Her flesh was being torn apart by the unwilling devils, and she was already covered in blood. Ning Xuema felt the same way. Her eyes were almost red and she asked Shinjuli in a low voice, "Is that scoundrel Luo Jiuchen still watching nearby?" Shinjuli took a look at a huge tree not far away and his voice was cold. "He's hiding there. He doesn't have the intention to make a move." Chapter 1946. The scene was too bloody. Even the substitute's little hand had been bitten off, and the palm had been reduced to an incomplete white bone. This was simply a punishment of death by 1,000 cuts. Ning Xuema's face turned pale as she watched. Her fingers clenched tightly in her sleeves. Looking at her substitute being bitten like this, she felt as if she had experienced it herself. She didn't dare to imagine what it would be like to be bitten like this. What kind of mentality did little Xuema have when she was tormented like this? There was a feeling of wanting to kill, wanting to destroy the world. Suddenly her eyes darkened. Shinjuli covered her eyes with his sleeve. "Be good, don't look." A long howl came from the distance. The howl shook the surroundings and was quickly approaching. It was obvious that a super big demon had arrived. The other demons who were fighting over the substitute heard the howl and were startled. Their faces changed and they immediately scattered like birds and beasts. Only the demon who was still holding on to Ning Xuema was left. He didn't know if he should throw away the treasure in his hands or run away with it. After a moment of hesitation, he also fiercely tore off a piece of flesh from Ning Xuema. Then he threw her aside and ran away. The substitute's vitality was not ordinary. Even at this point she still didn't faint. She trembled with all her might and made strange sounds like a beast crying out miserably. That super big demon had finally arrived. He looked at the little person who was trembling on the ground and his eyes emitted a red light. Ning Xuema recognized that this super big demon was the strongest person besides little Xuema. The flower that made little Xuema unable to grow was also stolen from this demon. His name was Zhu Huan. At that time, after little Xuema defeated Zhu Huan and stole the flower, she didn't care about Zhu Huan's life and even let him live. When little Xuema was the demon master of the demon world, this person didn't appear again. He must have gone somewhere to recuperate. Now that he had heard the news about little Xuema, he naturally came to share a piece of the cake. Zhu Huan's devil power was extremely high, second only to little Xuema in her heyday. He was also a figure who could do whatever he wanted in the devil world. Other devils were naturally afraid of him. When they saw him, they naturally scattered like birds and beasts. "Little devil master, to think that you would have such a day." Zhu Huan picked up the bloody substitute like he was picking up a chick. He used his sleeve to wipe off the blood on her small face. Not bad. Although the substitute had been bitten to the point where there was not a single piece of flesh left intact, her small face was not injured. It was just that it was deathly pale. The substitute hadn't fainted yet. His small mouth opened and closed as if he desperately wanted to say something, but he couldn't. Zhu Huan laughed heartily. "Little devil master, why do I feel so happy to see you like this?" He suddenly grabbed the substitute's head and kissed her forcefully. The substitute probably wanted to struggle, but she had no strength left. Instead of kissing, it was more like biting. He bit the substitute's lips until they were dripping with blood. Only then did he let go of her in satisfaction. "Little devil master, actually, I like you a little. Unfortunately, you only have that supreme divinity in your heart. You even desperately tried to stick to him and changed your mind to ask for his hand in marriage. Do you know that you've completely disgraced the devil race? Now you've been driven out, haven't you? You've been driven out by your lover, haven't you? You're as pathetic as a drowning dog. You still want to count on your lover to save you? Stop dreaming. He's already driven you out." Chapter 1947. The moment he kicked you out and threw you back to the demon realm, he should have known what would happen to you. He hates you and wants you dead. Aha, do you know how we got the news of your misfortune? It was that supreme divinity who spread the news. The body double trembled in Zhu Huan's hands and made noises. Zhu Huan laughed. "Someone sealed your acupoints? Ah, I'll be kind and undo it for you. I like to hear you scream." He patted her body. After a long while, the body double still made noises and couldn't make any meaningful sound. "What a pity. It seems that you're so frightened that you're speechless." Zhu Huan gently stroked her little face with his fingers. "It doesn't matter. As long as you can make a sound, I'll take good care of you." He took out a medicine bag from nowhere and sprinkled some powder on the body double's countless wounds. The body double trembled even more violently as her body contorted with all her might. It was clear that the powder had the effect of stimulating the wounds on her body, causing her to feel even more pain. Be good, I'm not harming you. I just want your wounds to heal. I don't have any appetite for such a bloody scene. Let's go, I'll take you home. I can't bear to see such a little beauty being hurt like this. Zhu Huan proudly carried the body double and ran away, disappearing in the blink of an eye. Shenjuli's hands and feet turned cold as he watched from the tree. He had already vaguely guessed what kind of trap Luo Jiuchen had set for him. That bastard was clearly trying to force the little demon master to become a real crazy demon. Fortunately, he had secretly replaced the body double, otherwise the consequences would have been unimaginable. He looked up at another tree. Luo Jiuchen was standing there with his eyes downcast and his fingers clenched tightly as if he couldn't bear it. Moments later, Luo Jiuchen let out a long sigh. "Oh, don't blame me for being cruel. I had no choice. I'll make it up to you in the future. I'll give you the best." He turned around and ran off. Shenjuli's body moved. He wanted to follow, but a pair of small hands suddenly clung onto his neck. "Julie, I feel uncomfortable." Shenjuli looked down and was shocked. The face of the person in his arms was extremely pale. Even her lips were white. "Shuema." Shenjuli put his fingers on her wrist. "What's wrong with you?" Ning Shuema's small body was trembling. "I feel terrible, so terrible." Her heart was beating abnormally fast. It was like fear but also like poisoning. She pursed her lips and looked like she was about to cry. "My heart hurts. I want to go back to Fantian Palace." Shenjuli looked down at her deeply and said softly, "Okay, I'll take you back." In any case, he had already swapped her out. That Miao Fan had gone through all the pain and suffering in Shuema's place. Even if she was driven crazy, she wouldn't be able to do anything. There was no need for him to follow them anymore. Ning Shuema felt like vomiting. She had seen a lot of bloody scenes in her life, so normal bloody scenes were nothing to her. However, when she saw what the body double had gone through, her heart was trembling. Because she knew that this was what little Shuema had really gone through. How helpless was she when she went through all this back then? How desperate. Chapter 1948. Just because she loved someone she was treated like this. Not to mention the innocent little Shuema back then, even if she was now, if she didn't know the truth in advance, she would also go crazy. It was necessary to become a demon immediately. Although the substitute was fake, the behavior of these demons was real. Right now, Ning Shuema had the urge to cut these devils into 1,000 pieces. Of course, she hated the initiator Luo Jiuchen to the bone. In order to achieve his own selfish desires, this person actually harmed a girl like this, and this girl was even the one he said he loved. Pervert. Demon. This person was not a demigod, he was clearly the reincarnation of a demon. If she didn't kill this thief, she would not be a human. Seeing Zhu Huan kissing the substitute, Ning Shuema had an impulse to vomit. It was too disgusting. If Shenjuli hadn't replaced her, she would have been the one suffering all this now. It turned out that little Shuema's condition wasn't as simple as being bitten a few times or having her heart's blood extracted. Aside from the physical pain, her spirit was also ravaged. It was only natural that she would collapse and her temperament would change greatly. Ning Shuema understood what would happen next. With Shenjuli's personality, he would definitely not allow things to continue to develop. If he didn't allow things to continue to develop, then Zisha wouldn't appear and she wouldn't have to change her fate in the end. So she couldn't let him continue to watch. To sum up, Ning Shuema simply swallowed a unique poison quietly. In addition, she was already disgusted, so it seemed that she was really weak. Shenjuli took her back to Fantian Palace and immediately treated her. He found out the poison in her body. Fortunately, it was a slow-acting poison and he cured it in time, so it was not a big problem. "Julie, I want to recover my kung fu." In Shenjuli's bedroom, Ning Shuema held Shenjuli's arm and didn't let go. This feeling of not having any kung fu and being at the mercy of others was too unpleasant. She had to get better quickly so that she could carry out the next step of her plan. Shenjuli understood that she was frightened by the scene and held her in his arms. "Don't worry, I will protect you in the future. I will never let you suffer again." Ning Shuema shook her head. "I think it's better for me to recover my kung fu on my own." She looked at Shenjuli anxiously. It can't be that my kung fu is completely crippled, right? Never to recover again?" "No, it's because you went too far in the early stages that your blood vessels were completely blocked. I'll help you slowly recuperate. After a year, your martial arts will return." 1 year. Ning Xuema's jaw almost dropped. That's too long. If she stayed here for too long, she was afraid that her body would die, and little Nianma would cry himself to death. Moreover, Mother Earth said that after little Xuema was rescued by Luo Jiuchen, she recovered all her kung fu in less than half a month. Her kung fu even doubled a few times. That was why she could destroy the world. Could it be that Luo Jiuchen had a very special way to recover? Is there a faster way? I can't wait. Ning Xuema continued to look at him eagerly. Shinjuli was speechless. He tried to persuade her. Xuema, 1 year is not a long time. It's better to recover your kung fu gradually. In the eyes of the immortals, 1 year was indeed a short time. However, to Ning Xuema it was impossible. She continued to pester Shinjuli, hoping that he would find a faster and better way. She was determined and kissed him on the lips. Julie, help me. Chapter 1949. Her chi deviation this time was definitely related to Shinjuli. Shinjuli already felt guilty towards her, but he couldn't change her insistence. He sighed and said, "There is a way, but it will make you suffer a lot. There's really no need." "There's a need. It's really necessary." Ning Xuema's eyes lit up when she heard him relenting. She hurriedly said, "I'm not afraid of suffering. I have to recover quickly." Shinjuli looked at her for a long time. His gaze was so deep that Ning Xuema's little heart couldn't help but beat faster. "Eh." Shinjuli only said one word. Ning Xuema let out a sigh of relief and struck while the iron was hot. "When do we start?" 10 days later, Shinjuli said concisely. Ning Xuema lowered her eyes and calculated the time. According to Mother Earth, little Xuema suffered for 10 days in the hands of that Zhu Huan before she was rescued by Luo Jiuchen. Can it be a few days earlier? I think we can do it now. Ning Xuema tried to bargain with him. Your poison has just been cured and your body is still weak. You have to recuperate for 10 days. Shinjuli rejected her flatly. Alright, 10 days it is, it shouldn't be a problem. Alright, have a good rest. I'll come and see you later. Shinjuli stuffed her into the blankets and turned to leave. Ning Xuema faintly felt that Shinjuli should be suspicious of her. This person was extremely smart and some of her little tricks would probably fall into his eyes. For example, she ate poison herself and she was so anxious to recover her power. Shinjuli just didn't want to expose her, but it would probably leave a shadow in his heart. But how could she be honest with him? If she was honest, she would probably transmigrate back before she could even say half of it. It wasn't easy for her to transmigrate again. Speaking of which, did she change her fate chart? If it was just a substitute suffering, then the substitute couldn't produce the purple fiend, right? Without Zisha, the world would not have perished. Then, Shinjuli would have been able to live here for a long time. Little Xuema would not have died, and Shui Mo and Ning Xuema would not have been born. Little Nianma would not have been born either. Ning Xuema lay in bed and felt that she was going to be confused by this unsolvable equation. But how did the purple fiend come about? After he recovered his kung fu, should he be like little Xuema and go on a killing spree? Those demons in the devil realm who had once tortured her substitute must be killed. She had no qualms about killing them. But what about the others? After all, the others were innocent. Was she really going to drag the people of the 6 realms down with her for her own selfish desires? After all, Shinjuli was the guardian of the heavenly Tao. If he suddenly went down to the lower bound and became a demon, he was afraid that Shinjuli would not agree to it. She still had to be his enemy. Ouch. Her head hurt. Ning Xuema held her head and rolled around on the bed. Although she admitted that she was not a good person, it was still very stressful to be the Devil King who destroyed the world. Especially when her husband was the guardian of the heavenly Tao, the pressure was magnified countless times. When she was in the Devil realm, in order to achieve a realistic effect, she took a very strong poison. Although it was cured now, her head was still a little dizzy and painful. Besides, she was also very tired after a day of torment. Unknowingly, she fell asleep. Shinjuli had returned to the bedroom. He sat in front of Ning Xuema's bed. Seeing that she was sleeping soundly, he did not disturb her. He just checked her pulse again. Ning Xuema suddenly moved and murmured unconsciously, "Nianma, what should I do? Mother." Chapter 1950. She muttered a few more words, but the rest was very vague and he couldn't hear clearly. Shinjuli's fingers that were holding her wrist stiffened. He looked down at her and didn't move for a long time. After a while, he raised his hand and smoothed the messy hair on her forehead. He seemed to want to do something, but in the end he didn't do it. He sat by her bed and then turned to walk out. Yes, he had already seen that she had swallowed the poison to stop him from following her. Some of her actions were also very abnormal. He had asked her to wait for him on the tree, but she sat alone at the edge of the road to the mortal world. She clearly knew that Luo Jiuchen would plot against her. When she fell into the demon world, she seemed to have known that those demons would take advantage of the situation to catch her. She bravely accepted her fate. Although he didn't like to meddle in other people's business, it didn't mean that he didn't understand the human nature of this world. He knew some of the movements of the demon world like the back of his hand. He was very familiar with most of the demons with names and had a general understanding of the demons under Shuema's command. He knew that these people were not loyal to Shuema, but because her demon power was too high, they didn't dare to rebel. Most of the demons were not loyal to her. He had previously reminded her, but after all she didn't understand and her ability to control her subordinates was not very strong. Once she lost her power and became an ordinary person, Shinjuli knew what it meant to those demons better than little Shuema. If it was the little Shuema who had not grown up, she might not have been able to predict the situation and made such a suicidal move. But now Shuema was very smart and tactful. For someone like her to do such a thing, it really made people suspicious. Ning Shuema once asked him if he believed her, and he believed her. He didn't know what was going on, but he inexplicably believed her. He believed that everything she did was for a reason and had difficulties. But he still hoped that she could be honest with him, and then the two of them could face it together. He didn't want to guess here and there when he knew that something was wrong. And he still misjudged Luo Jiuchen. He thought that Luo Jiuchen would rush out to save Shuema at the critical moment, but he didn't expect that Luo Jiuchen had been watching the fire burning across the river. He had been watching with folded arms. Luo Jiuchen obviously wanted to force Shuema to become a demon. He had become a truly cold-blooded and merciless demon who had slaughtered countless people. Was Luo Jiuchen trying to create a real opponent for him? Did he know that Shinjuli cared about this girl, so he used this trick to force Shuema into becoming a demon and let him and her fight each other so that Luo Jiuchen could benefit from it? He had figured out Luo Jiuchen's plot, but what about Shuema? She seemed to have known a lot of things long ago. She seemed to want to change something but also seemed to want to push something. Now she was actually talking in her sleep and calling herself mother. In short, her actions were beyond Shinjuli's expectations. If it was someone else who dared to be so secretive in front of him, he would either chase that person out or use some means to dig out that person's background. But not for her. Against her he couldn't use many means and couldn't use them. So he preferred her to tell him herself. Ning Shuema slept very soundly. When she woke up, she felt refreshed and all the discomfort disappeared. She got up, stretched her hands and feet, and then dressed up in front of the mirror. The mirror reflected her delicate and lovely face, big round eyes, small mouth, and 2 dimples on her face when she smiled. Chapter 1951. This was little Shuema's face, which was also her face when she was 12 or 13 years old. Luo Jiuchen, that bastard, had the heart to lay his hands on such a cute child and let her suffer so much. What was even more infuriating was that this bastard had caused little Shuema to be so miserable and had replaced Shinjuli as the master of heaven and earth 50,000 years later. Now he was so proud of himself. Just thinking about it made her so angry that she had a toothache. So she must find a way to kill him. Ning Shuema thought of the heaven's water poison again and remembered that she was a 7th level alchemist. Her eyes turned slightly. Shinjuli's alchemist level was enough. Why didn't she ask him for advice on how to level up quickly? He was a ready-made master. Thinking of this, she couldn't stay in the house for a moment and ran out. Fantian Palace was very big. Its layout was a bit similar to Shinjuli's palace on Buddha Lotus Mountain in Tianxi continent, but it was a few times bigger. There were many pavilions and terraces inside. It was almost as if the scenery was changing with every step, but Ning Shuema wasn't in the mood to appreciate it. She walked around Fantian Palace but still couldn't find Shinjuli's whereabouts. Strange, where did he go? Ning Shuema was puzzled when a melodious sound of the zither suddenly came from afar. Her eyes lit up and immediately followed the sound of the zither. Soon she got close to the isolated big stone peak. The sound of the zither came from above. Ning Shuema bitterly raised her head to look at it. She had the urge to kick that lonely peak. It was so high. With her current ability she couldn't go up and could only wander around below. As the old saying goes, a gentleman listens to the zither but doesn't speak. Ning Shuema pondered for a moment. If she continued to be a gentleman, she definitely couldn't go up. So she took a deep breath and shouted, "I want to go up. Or you can come down." Her voice wasn't soft and could be heard from afar. But the sound of the zither was still tinkling and didn't even stop. The circling birds in the sky that were attracted by the sound of the zither became more and more. Could it be that he didn't hear it? Ning Xuema pinched the space between her eyebrows. It wasn't that she wanted to waste her time, but her time was really precious. She wanted to take advantage of these few days to learn alchemy. Should she howl again? Just as she was hesitating, a phoenix cry came from the sky. A big red fire phoenix suddenly flew down and landed at Ning Xuema's feet, nodding at her. Vermilion bird. Her fiery red feathers were overflowing with light, and she stood there with her chest puffed out like a ball of fire. She was both majestic and beautiful. Ning Xuema's heart skipped a beat. Was he sent by Shinjuli? She approached the fire phoenix. The fire phoenix looked at her with its red phoenix eyes, as if it was calculating her weight. It had a sense of superiority. How could a bird look down on her? There was even pressure coming from his body. Ning Xuema's lips curled up slightly. She pulled on its feathers and jumped on its back in the blink of an eye. The fire phoenix probably wanted to give her a show of strength. Just as Ning Xuema jumped on its back, it let out a long cry and shot up into the sky like a rocket launcher. Fortunately, Ning Xuema knew from its eyes that this little bird was probably going to give her a show of strength. She was already prepared. Just as she landed on its back, she pulled on its feathers tightly. Her body was almost in the air, but she didn't have any intention of falling down. She only cursed in her heart. Shouldn't such a big bird be gliding when taking off? It could actually fly up in a straight line like a helicopter. This was simply unscientific. Although Ning Xuema lost her psychokinesis, fortunately, she didn't lose her strength. Chapter 1952. Although Ning Xuema had lost her psychokinesis, she did not lose her strength. In this lifetime she had also ridden a few perverted birds, so she already had experience. She was not afraid, but because her body was suspended in the air, almost all of her weight was supported by her two hands. Her small hands were somewhat tight. This vermilion bird probably wanted to test her ability to adapt. Its speed was sometimes fast and sometimes slow. Especially after flying to the peak, it rushed up for a long time, then turned around and swooped down again. After landing, it retracted its wings and stood there arrogantly, continuing to listen to the zither with its neck raised. Obviously it was urged by Shinjuli to go down to pick up people, and it was a little unwilling to be interrupted. So, it wanted to give Ning Xuema a show of strength and vent its anger. Ning Xuema almost vomited after being tossed around by the vermilion bird. She steadied herself on the vermilion bird's back and suddenly leaned forward. Her two small hands stuffed something into the vermilion bird's ears. Vermilion bird suddenly could not hear anything. In the time it was stunned, Ning Xuema had turned over and ran to Shinjuli's side. Although vermilion bird was not small, its ears were not big. Once something was stuffed into its ears, it would be difficult for it to get it out. Such a beautiful zither sound could not be heard all the time. Vermilion bird was anxiously patting its ears with its wings. After all, its wings weren't as nimble as a human's. After tossing and turning for a long time, it still didn't come out. It also didn't dare to let out a long cry to disturb the supreme divinity. It anxiously circled around in circles, its pair of eyes firmly staring at Ning Xuema. Ning Xuema just acted as if she did not see its murderous gaze. She sat next to Shinjuli and listened to the zither with a smile. The sound of the zither slowly stopped. Shinjuli looked at her and then looked at the vermilion bird who was walking over. He shook his head and said, "Naughty?" Vermilion bird stretched out its head and wanted Shinjuli to look at its ears. Shinjuli had no intention of relieving it of its difficulties at all. His fingers gently stroked the strings of the zither as he said lightly, "Who did you offend? Let that person deal with it for you." The vermilion bird understood and could only turn its gaze towards Ning Xuema. Ning Xuema pretended not to see it and pulled Shinjuli's sleeve. "Guru, how about another song?" She felt that the Almighty's music could not only attract birds to listen to it, but it also had the effect of adjusting her meridians. Finally, there seemed to be a little bit of energy in her stomach. What's more, the vermilion bird's ear was stuffed with a feather she plucked from its body. If the Almighty played again and it still couldn't hear it, it would be even more impatient and regretful. Shinjuli looked at her. "Do you know how to play?" Ning Xuema's heart skipped a beat. She nodded. "Yes." Shinjuli's eyes flashed and he stepped aside. "Come, play a song." Ning Xuema sat in front of the zither and lowered her eyes for a moment. She stretched out her fingers and fell on the zither. Ding ding dong dong, She had memories of little Shuema and knew that little Shuema couldn't sit still. Although she liked to listen to Shinjuli play the zither, she didn't like to play the zither. Shinjuli must have known this as well. He probably wanted to test her by asking her to play the zither. In fact, she couldn't wait to let Shinjuli discover more of her abnormalities and arouse his curiosity so that he could explore the truth for himself. Therefore, she naturally played very hard at this moment. Although her zither skills were not as good as Shinjuli's, she could still be considered a top master. Chapter 1953. Once an expert reached out his hand, he would know whether he was skilled or not. Shinjuli knew that she was an expert when he saw her fingering skills. The tune she played was a little weird, but it was very beautiful and pleasant to the ears. It even gave him a sense of familiarity, but he couldn't remember where he had heard it before. Ning Shuema played The Moon Reflected in Two Springs, which was originally a classic of the Eru. However, when played with the guqin, it had a different flavor. It was like a clear spring flowing on top of the mountain. Shinjuli listened quietly, deep in thought. With his strong memory, he could remember a good tune forever after listening to it once. He would never forget it. In his memory, he had never heard this song before, but what was with this inexplicable sense of familiarity? A person who obviously didn't know how to play the guqin could suddenly play such a beautiful tune. Other than being possessed by a ghost, there was almost no other explanation. However, the soul was obviously the same. Even if they were twins and looked exactly the same, their souls were still different. This was absolutely impossible to fake. Shinjuli looked at her sideways, speculating all kinds of possibilities. When the song ended, Ning Shuema stopped playing and looked at him. Her eyes were as bright as stars. How was it? Was it nice? Not bad. Where did you learn this tune? A place you have never been to. Ning Shuema said tentatively. After saying that, there was a moment of silence. Not bad. She didn't reveal the secret of heaven, so she didn't get sent back. The 6 realms were huge, and there were places that Shinjuli had not been to. He shook his head and said, "This is the first time I'm listening to this song that you're playing. Somehow it feels familiar." Ning Shuema's heart suddenly skipped a beat. You felt familiar? When she followed Shinjuli to gain experience in the Tianxi continent, she had played this tune for him. Other times she had never played it. Then how could he feel a sense of familiarity from 50,000 years ago? Could it be that he also transmigrated? No, if he also transmigrated here, he should be able to recognize her. Perhaps his old illness had relapsed and he had lost his memory when he transmigrated? Did he lose his memory again? Guru, did you forget something? For example, losing a part of your memory? Ning Shuema's eyes sparkled. Shinjuli shook his head. No. He had all of his memories from the moment he was born. It was impossible for him to lose his memories. Think about it again. Maybe you don't even know if you lost it. Ning Shuema didn't give up. Shinjuli glanced at her. Why did you say that I lost my memory? How did you deduce that? Ning Shuema coughed. The song. Actually, I played it for you before. When? Where is it? Ning Shuema rubbed her eyebrows with a headache. The abnormal god didn't let her tell the truth. What should she say? Suddenly she had an idea. In a dream. Looking at Shinjuli's disapproving expression, Ning Shuema continued to talk to him like she was talking in a Zen language. Guru, let me tell you the story of Zhuang Xingxiao's dream of a butterfly. She was very eloquent. She told the story in a clear and logical way, explaining the cause and effect very clearly. Finally, she sighed and said, actually, people are very strange sometimes. Sometimes, what you think of as a dream might be reality, and what you think of as reality might be a dream. It depends on how you look at it. Maybe both the dream and reality are real. Chapter 1954. Shinjuli listened to her as if she was beating around the bush. Finally, he said slowly, are you saying that some dreams are real? For example, you said that you played this song for me in the dream, but in fact, the dream was real? Smart. Ning Shuema nodded. In that real dream, not only did you play the guqin in front of me, but you also gave birth to a child. Is the child named Yenma? Shinjuli sat there and tapped the stone next to him with a faint smile. Ning Shuema was stunned and blurted out, how do you know so clearly? Have you read my memory? Shinjuli raised his hand and knocked her head. Stupid, the person being read must be awake to read the memory. Ning Shuema's heart skipped a beat. She could not tell him, but what if he read her memory? Perhaps he would know the whole truth. However, if he knew, he would also know what would happen next. He was the Divine Lord who guarded this world. If he knew in advance, would he try to stop it? If that was the case, history would change drastically. Her little Nianma would not be able to come back. With Xinjiuli's character, it was impossible for him to ignore the safety of the six realms for a child. Perhaps he would persuade her to have another child in the future. Therefore, when Ning Xuema wanted to ask him to read her memory, she swallowed it back. She stood up and walked around the mountain. Suddenly, she turned to Xinjiuli and asked, "Great God, have you ever thought that one day the Fantian Palace will belong to someone else?" Xinjiuli answered casually, "It is just a worldly possession." He meant that he did not care. Ning Xuema pouted. "What if that person is Luo Jiuchen? Not only did he take away your divine position, but he also coveted your wife and plotted against your child?" Xinjiuli frowned slightly and said coldly, "He has to have the ability to do so." Ning Xuema coughed. What if he has already done it? He has already snatched your deity position and is forcing your wife and children to do the same. Xinjiuli raised his eyebrows. "Does he think I'm dead?" Ning Xuema thought to herself, "You are indeed dead in that world. Otherwise, that bastard would not dare to be so arrogant." Ning Xuema hugged his arm and said, "Master, how can someone like Luo Jiuchen be worthy of being a divine venerable? Don't you think so? His character is too despicable." Xinjiuli raised his hand and stroked her hair. "Indeed, it's just the heavenly Tao. Don't worry with me here, he can't overturn the heavens." Ning Xuema sighed inwardly. "I was afraid that you wouldn't be here." She sat there plucking at the strings, pondering what to say. Xinjiuli picked her up and put her on his lap. He looked into her eyes and said, "You have a lot on your mind. Can't you tell me?" Ning Xuema leaned lazily in his arms. She had too many misgivings, so naturally she could not say it out loud. She cheered herself up and hugged his neck. "Master, do you have a spell that can let me go back to the past?" She wanted to learn this first. If the master knew this, she would not be afraid. If she accidentally let it slip and was transmigrated back, she could find a way to transmigrate back. Go back to the past? What do you mean? Xinjiuli raised his eyebrows. For example, you want to go back to the time when you were just born and wore open crotch pants? I didn't wear open crotch pants. Xinjiuli did not know whether to laugh or cry, but there was a hint of ridicule in his eyes. You want to go back to that time? Ning Xuema giggled. Maybe I'll have another dream and I'll be able to see you as a cute child. Chapter 1955. Xinjiuli's eyes flickered. You're talking about dreaming again? Again? He was indeed smart to be able to grasp the key point in her words. Ning Xuema struck while the iron was hot. That's right, who knows, the current you might be my. She suddenly paused. You what? Xinjiuli continued to pursue. He's my dearest husband. Ning Xuema changed her words. She almost blurted out the words 50,000 years. She clearly remembered that the last time she had said this sentence, she had returned with a whoosh. She shook his arm. I'm the one asking you, do you have any ideas? Xinjiuli shook his head. I've never heard of this before, it's impossible for people to return to the past. That's because you're ignorant and inexperienced. This sister had transmigrated from the future. Ning Xuema rarely met a place where she could embarrass this great god, but it was a pity that she couldn't say it out loud, so she couldn't help but feel unhappy. But if even he didn't have any ideas, then she had to be even more cautious. Speaking of which, she seemed to have the physique of transmigrating while sleeping. When she was in the modern era, she had transmigrated to Tianxi continent and became another person. Now that she had transmigrated again, she had directly transmigrated to 50,000 years ago. But since God had given her this physique, he probably wanted to send her over to change her fate, right? She had to grab hold of this opportunity, she couldn't let it go. She had to use every minute and second of transmigrating to this world to do her own things. Ning Xuema finally remembered the reason why she was looking for him. That's right, great God, can you teach me alchemy? Xinjiuli looked at her from head to toe. Are you sure? That year when I taught you alchemy, not only did you destroy a bunch of my medicinal herbs, you even blew up my alchemy furnace. Ning Xuema knew that he was talking about little Xuema's embarrassing childhood, so she coughed. People will change, now my alchemy skills have reached level 7. Xinjiuli sized her up again, suddenly carried her and walked away. Show me how to refine it. Inside the medicine refining room, Ning Xuema skillfully refined a cauldron of level 7 pills. Xinjiuli had been watching her from the side. Seeing her skillful movements and techniques, his eyes flashed even more fiercely. Ever since he had slept with Ning Xuema, he had become suspicious of her identity. During the days when Ning Xuemo reverted to little Xuema, he secretly went to the devil realm to investigate. He learned about little Xuema's living habits and skills, and knew that she didn't know how to refine medicine at all. The medicine she had was basically given to her by her subordinates. But now he had suddenly reached the 7th level of alchemy. Combined with what she had said on the mountain peak, an inference formed in his mind. Could she really be from the future? Was that even possible? Great Master, what do you think of my refining? Ning Xuema stood on her tiptoes and shook the pill in her hand in front of his eyes. Shinjuli picked it up and looked at it, then nodded, not bad. Ning Xuema smiled and narrowed her eyes. Do you believe me now? Come, quickly tell me how can I quickly improve my alchemy skills. She was almost hugging his neck like a swing. After she reverted to little Xuema's appearance, she relied on her lowly appearance in front of her sweetheart, so her personality was very lively. Shinjuli looked at her round and bright eyes and calmly said, Is your body better? Ning Xuema was anxious to learn alchemy, so when she heard him ask this, she immediately jumped up and down, of course. Shinjuli quietly looked at her blushing little face. Chapter 1956. Shinjuli looked at her blushing face. Her skin was so tender that he wanted to take a bite out of it. Her eyes were bright. The little girl recovered very quickly. She was as lively as before after a nap. He raised his hand and pinched her cheek. He said calmly, You have to pay a price for learning from me. Ning Xuema did not react for a while. What price? She raised her eyebrows. With our current relationship, do you still need me to pay you? It is very useful. Shinjuli had a faint smile in his eyes. And I only want one kind of payment. Ning Xuema's heart skipped a beat. Her face was slightly red. The payment you want is, you? Shinjuli touched her body. After a flash of white light, Ning Xuemo returned to her appearance of a 16 or 17-year-old girl. In the blink of an eye, Ning Xuema found herself back in her bedroom. She felt the world spinning around her as she was pressed onto the bed. Perhaps it was because absence made the heart grow fonder. Shinjuli and Ning Xuema were entangled with each other for a long time, and they were especially passionate. Ning Xuema felt like she was a dough being kneaded into various shapes by him. When she was aroused, she cooperated with him very well. Overall, the two of them rolled around the bed to their heart's content. Ning Xuema felt that her body was already strong enough, but after this round of tossing and turning, she once again fell asleep in his embrace. Shinjuli was a man of his words. The next day Ning Xuema woke up in his arms. Shinjuli told her how to quickly improve her medicine refining skills. However, there were only 4 words: study hard and practice hard. Ning Xuema immediately felt that she had been tricked by a big bad wolf. She was so angry that she flipped over and sat on top of him to settle the score. However, she forgot that a man in the morning was the most dangerous. In the end, it was too horrible to look at. She was once again taken aback by him, and he even said with certainty that she was the one who initiated it. Fortunately, Shinjuli didn't want to wrong her too much, lest she go crazy. Not only did he give her a real full-body massage, he also helped her relax her muscles and bones so that she could quickly recover her strength. He also accompanied her in the medicine refining room for the whole day and gave her a few words of advice from time to time. He was indeed a very qualified master. Every word of advice was concise and comprehensive, and went straight to the core, which benefited Ning Xuema a lot. His alchemy skill had improved. This kind of skill was indeed not something that could be improved in a short period of time. However, with the help of Shinjuli, Ning Xuema still managed to master the real rapid leveling of the alchemy skill. She believed that at this rate, her alchemy skill should be able to reach level 9 in less than a month. When the time came, he would be able to refine the heavenly water poison to restrain Luo Jiuchen. She also remembered the location of the 3 other medicinal herbs, so she asked Shinjuli for advice. Ning Xuema felt that Shinjuli was definitely a big bad wolf who wouldn't suffer any losses. Every time she asked for advice, she had to pay a price. Moreover, it was the kind that didn't accept credit. Hence, in order to get the location of the 3 medicinal herbs, Ning Xuema paid a total of 4 prices. Originally, it was 3 times. The other time he said that it was a buy 3 get 1 free discount. Ning Xuema got up from the bed angrily and told him that she was the buyer. She had bought his information 3 times, so he should give her other information once more. That would be called buy 3 get 1 free. However, Shinjuli turned his head and smiled at her lazily. You're right. I should give you something for free. However, I have the final say on what I give you, don't you think so? Chapter 1957. Ning Xuema pondered for a moment. Usually, when it came to a buy one get one free deal, the one that was given to the seller was the one that was chosen by the seller, and not the customer. However, Xinjuli was full of treasures, and his knowledge was as vast as the ocean. No matter what he gave her, it should be something precious. Thus she nodded and agreed. Her eyes sparkled as she looked at him. Then what are you giving me? Xinjuli was lying on the bed. His clothes were half open, and his jade-like skin was faintly discernible. He was lying casually and he looked lazy and flirtatious. However, the words that came out of his mouth were very annoying. How about giving it to me? I can let you do whatever you want to me this time. Ning Xuema was speechless. She picked up the pillow next to her and threw it at his handsome face. She replied to him directly, "No." Xinjuli laughed loudly. His laughter was so clear that it could be heard from outside the hall. Xinjuli was born with a cold temperament. Ning Xuema had never seen him laugh like this in her life. After getting out of bed, she rubbed her sore waist and looked at him in surprise. "Master, I didn't know that you could laugh like this. I have been entangled with you for 3." She wanted to say that she had never seen him laugh like this in her 3 lifetimes. However, before she could finish her sentence, she felt a tightness in her chest, and her vision turned black. Xinjuli watched her suddenly fall. He did not have time to think and quickly held her. However, her body shrank rapidly in his arms and returned to the appearance of a 12 or 13 years old. She opened her eyes. Her eyes were as clear as crystal, as if she had just woken up from a dream. "Julie?" Xinjuli felt as if someone had poured a bucket of cold water on him. He felt cold from head to toe. "Mother." A tender and cheerful voice awakened Ning Xuema's consciousness. She opened her eyes and saw Xin Yinma's delicate face. The child was looking at her with surprise. When he saw that she had opened her eyes, he rushed into her arms. "Mother, you slept for 5 days again. You almost scared him to death." He was probably extremely aggrieved as he lay in her arms and cried. His tears had soaked her clothes. "I'm back." For a moment, Ning Xuema felt as if she was dreaming. What was a dream? What is reality? Even she felt confused for a moment. If it were not for little Nianma, she would not have come back. However, when she held little Nianma's chubby body in her arms and saw the little guy's big eyes, she was glad that she came back in time. She had slept for another 5 days. Little Nianma must have been frightened. She turned over and sat up. Her body was clearly very weak before she fell asleep, and she could barely walk on her own. But now she didn't feel any discomfort. She held the little fellow in her arms. The little fellow hugged her tightly and clung to her body, as if he was afraid that she would run away again. Although she was touched to receive such a warm hug from her son, she also felt a little helpless. She rubbed the little guy's head. "Nianma, I was too tired and slept for 5 days. You don't have to worry." Little Nianma sobbed. "But you don't seem to be asleep. You don't even breathe and your heart has stopped beating." General Manager Himu and the rest were even more anxious than Nianma. They had invited many doctors over, but all of them said that it was hopeless. If his mother had not slept with him before, Nianma would have thought that his mother was a goner. "I really don't want to live anymore." Chapter 1958. When such a young child suddenly said that he did not want to live anymore, it was extremely frightening. Ning Xuema held his arm tightly. "Don't talk nonsense. Nianma, you have to live well. Nianma is my sweetheart." Her heart skipped a beat. It turned out that her so-called dream was not sleeping, but a real out-of-body experience. It was as if she was dead. No wonder the child was afraid. She could not explain how guilty she felt toward the child. The child was still so young, but he had experienced so much. He was even more troubled than her. She did not give the child much love, but she gave him a lot of shocks. She was not a qualified mother. She held the child in her arms and patted and comforted him. Finally, the little guy stopped crying and smiled. She whispered in the child's ear, "Baby, if you see me in this situation in the future, you don't have to be nervous. I just went out to do something. I will come back. I will not abandon you, understand?" What is mother going out to do? Can you bring Nianma with you? Xin Yinma's knowledge of metaphysics was still very rich, so he vaguely knew about the out-of-body experience. Ning Xuema sighed. If she could bring the child with her, she would have done so long ago. She wiped the little guy's face and said in a low voice, "Nianma, I am busy because of your father's return." Little Nianma's eyes lit up. "Father?" "Sure." Ning Xuema pressed a finger on his little mouth. Good baby, you must not let anyone else know about this. Do you understand? Little Nianma nodded obediently. Okay. No matter when, no matter what the situation is, you can't tell anyone. Ning Xuemo reminded him again. Okay, I will listen to you. Little Nianma vowed. Ning Xuemo was relieved. She told her son in advance so that the little guy would not be worried if she traveled in the future. She also told her son, baby, if you encounter such a situation in the future, you just need to protect my body so that I will not be taken away by the beast. I will come back sooner or later. Little Nianma nodded and answered seriously, okay. I will listen to you, mother. Ning Xuema breathed a sigh of relief. She found that she was still in the small courtyard where Xinjiuli had lived. It seemed that her subordinates did not dare to move her because she suddenly stopped breathing. The 8 mythological beasts guarding outside heard the commotion inside and sent Bai Zhe in to take a look. Seeing the mother and son hugging each other, Bai Zhe immediately heaved a sigh of relief and retracted his head back to report the good news to his companions. The news of her awakening spread very quickly, and the outside world was practically in a state of jubilation. Ning Xuema could hear that there were quite a lot of people in this small courtyard. Suddenly, she thought of something and her expression changed. She jumped out of bed and ran out of the door. When she saw everything in the courtyard, she gasped. The 8 mythological beasts were all in their original forms, walking majestically in the courtyard. Manager Heimu and a few other guardians of the Mo Palace were also in the small courtyard. The small courtyard was not big, so it was crowded because of the presence of these people. There were even 2 people standing in the flower bed. All of you get out. Ning Xuema sternly shouted, scaring the jubilant crowd. They all turned their heads to look at her. Those people were originally going to pay their respects, but they were also shocked by her shout and looked at her in a daze. Ning Xuema took a deep breath and calmly said, all of you get out. In the future, no one is allowed to come in without my permission. Chapter 1959. Although everyone did not know what was going on, they quickly left the place. Mother? Little Nianma did not understand why his mother was so harsh. Ning Xuema did not bother to answer him. After everyone left, she rushed to the flower bed. The flower bed was trampled beyond recognition, and many of the weeds were flattened. It looked like a mess. Ning Xuema's face was pale. She carefully and cautiously searched the area in her memory. She pushed aside the flattened grass and looked for the little lotus that she had worked so hard to find. After a while, she finally found it. Then, she heaved a long sigh of relief and sat on the ground. The little lotus was still there, but the leaves at the corner had been scratched and were a little injured. However, the green was still very attractive. Moreover, in these 5 days it seemed to have grown a little taller. It looked very delicate. Ning Xuemo remembered Miao Fan's words. She said that Xinjiuli's original body crawled out from the lotus. So, this strange little lotus could be the original body of Xinjiuli. Perhaps, when it grew up and bloomed, Xinjiuli would come back. When Miao Fan told her about this, the first thing that came to her mind was this little lotus. She gently stroked the leaves with her fingers and could feel the wisps of spiritual aura on it. She carefully took care of the little lotus. Little Nianma also squatted beside her and curiously looked at the little lotus, which was not as thick as Xiao Xiao. Mother, do you also plant flowers? He reached out his little hand and wanted to play with it. This little thing doesn't look special. Ning Xuema's lips twitched. If this little lotus was really Xinjiuli, it was not a little thing, to Xin Yanma. She stopped her son's little hand so that he wouldn't hurt it. You'll know what's special about it after it blooms. Yanma, this flower is very important to me. You must not let anyone hurt it. You have to protect it well. Do you understand? Xin Yanma nodded solemnly. Yes, I will take good care of it. I will not let anyone pluck it. Mother, what kind of flower is it? Lotus. Ning Xuema paused for a moment before telling her son. Xin Yanma's eyes widened. Mother, are you mistaken? Don't lotus flowers grow in ponds? Ning Xuema nodded seriously. That's why I said it's a unique flower. She then reminded her son, Nianma, you have to protect this flower secretly. You must never tell anyone about its species or its preciousness. Sometimes, the more you care about something, the easier it is for it to be used against you. Although Ning Xuema knew that most of the people in Mo Palace were her own people, she couldn't guarantee that no one had been bribed by Luo Jiuqin. She was afraid that Luo Jiuqin knew Xinjiuli's original identity. If he knew that such a lotus had grown here, the consequences would be unimaginable. Before Xinjiuli came back, Ning Xuema must not take the risk. Okay. Nianma nodded again. Ning Xuema breathed a sigh of relief. Strangely, it had not rained recently, so the soil in the garden had been quite moist. Ning Xuema did not dare to add water to the little lotus. Perhaps the surrounding grass had been trampled, so the little lotus looked a little weak. Ning Xuema pondered for a moment and looked at her son. Nianma, be good. Take a drop of blood. Just a small drop will do. Chapter 1960. Shen Nianma nodded. Sure enough, he pricked his finger with the needle and a drop of blood came out. Ning Xuema dipped a little bit of the blood and smeared it on the lotus. A moment later, the little drop of blood was absorbed by the lotus and disappeared. The lotus seemed to be a little more energetic. Nianma's blood was really useful. Ning Xuema was more confident now. She was even more convinced that the lotus belonged to Shinjiuli. She smeared the drop of blood from Nianma's finger on the lotus. The lotus shook a little and absorbed the drop of blood after a while. The leaf not only looked a lot greener, but it also seemed to have grown a little. Shen Nianma also noticed it. His eyes lit up. Mother, my blood is good for it. Before Ning Xuema could say anything, he pricked another big drop of blood and dripped it on the lotus. Ning Xuema quickly stopped her son. You don't have to give it so much. Although she wanted Shinjiuli to come back soon, she did not want her son to suffer too much. This time the lotus could not eat anymore. It shook for a while, but the blood still rolled on the leaf. It seemed that it had an appetite. Ning Xuema was worried that it would eat too much, so she wiped the drop of blood away and reminded her son, don't give it too much. Just give it a drop every few days. She looked at her son's finger. Shen Nianma's recovery ability was comparable to his father's. In just a short while the needle hole had disappeared. Mother, what will happen when it blossoms? Little Nianma was excited. Maybe it will grow a father for you. Ning Xuema coughed. She did not want to tell her son anything that was not reliable. If it was not, it would be cruel to let her son down. It will be very beautiful when it blooms. Well, you will know when the time comes. Ning Xuema did not want to talk about it. Shen Nianma wanted to help the lotus grow faster, so he wanted to remove the weeds for it. However, Ning Xuema stopped him and said that the lotus also needed company. It wouldn't be conspicuous in a pile of weeds, so it wouldn't arouse suspicion. Ning Xuema was still worried. She walked out of the door and told Bai Zhe to send 2 reliable divine beasts to guard this small courtyard. No one was allowed to enter. Of course, in order to prevent the secret from being leaked, Ning Xuema did not mention anything about Xiaohe. She only said that the Divine Lord had stayed in this place before. She wanted to keep this place as it was. She did not want to touch any grass, trees, tables, or stools. The 8 mythological beasts understood her feelings for the supreme divinity, so they agreed without hesitation. Of course, head steward Ning Xuema had also used the same reason to instruct him. Head steward Heimu was a very reliable person. He didn't have any suspicions, so he restrained all his subordinates. After doing all this, Ning Xuema felt slightly relieved. She actually wanted to plant the little lotus in her storage space, but she couldn't. Her storage space wasn't suitable for growing plants. She casually asked her son about the situation in the past 5 days. Shen Nianma told her that the Mo Palace was relatively peaceful. Luo Jiuchen had come to visit, but he was politely rejected by head steward Heimu. He said that his great devil master was not feeling well, so it was not convenient for him to meet guests. Only then did he leave. Ning Xuema secretly clenched her fists. Obviously, the pervert had not given up on her. Perhaps he would come up with other bad ideas. She had to be careful. Fortunately, the third condition that little Nianma gave him was not to hurt any of the original Divine Lord's belongings. Before Luo Jiuchen became the master of heaven and earth, he would not dare to do anything to her and her mother. Chapter 1961. At the very least, he wouldn't dare to do it himself. At most, he would use someone else to do it. However, with the power of her, the 8 mythical beasts, and the entire Mo Palace, as long as he didn't do it himself, it wouldn't be easy to find someone he could borrow. Ning Xuema tidied up the flower bed while thinking about her next move. First, she would improve her alchemy skills, then look for herbs. She also had to restrain the entire Mo Palace and make them be careful with their words and actions. She didn't want Luo Jiuchen to find a reason to take revenge on her. She believed that this bastard would do it. Devil Master, Lord Luo is here to visit. Speaking of the devil, General Manager Heimu reported from outside. Ning Xuema frowned. She had been avoiding him all this time. She was afraid that this fellow would find another reason to come again. She would just deal with whatever came her way. In the hall, General Manager Himu personally welcomed Luo Jiuchen in. He didn't sit in the guest seat but at the head of the table. When Ning Xuema came in, he was leisurely drinking the tea General Manager Himu served. Seeing Ning Xuema's pale face as if she would be blown away by a gust of wind, the teacup in his hand paused. He stood up with a smile on his face. "I'm-oh." Ning Xuema looked at where he was sitting. She didn't say anything and just nodded at him. Then she took out a few flowers from nowhere and placed them in a small vase beside the guest seat. The flowers were very beautiful, and they looked even more delicate when set off by the milky white vase. Luo Jiuchen didn't know what she was doing, so he just sat there and looked at her elegantly. After she was done, Ning Xuema took 2 steps back as if to see if there was anything wrong. Luo Jiuchen was also a distinguished person. Flower arrangements were often done by distinguished and elegant scholars, so he naturally had his own taste. He was also an expert in flower arrangement. He looked at the vase of flowers that Ning Xuema had arranged. It was beautiful but there were still flaws. His heart skipped a beat and he walked over with a smile. "I know a thing or two about flower arrangements. Do you want me to help you?" Ning Xuema glanced at him. "You know how." Of course. Luo Jiuchen wanted to show off his ability in front of her, so he began to arrange flowers. After rearranging the flowers, he took a step back and said with a smile, "How about this? Your Excellency's skill is indeed not bad." Ning Xuema's voice rang out not far away. Luo Jiuchen raised his head and was slightly startled. He didn't know when Ning Xuema had returned to the main seat and was looking at him lazily with a smile that wasn't a smile. "Luo Jiuchen." Ning Xuema waved to the guest seat and said, "Please sit down." The little lass had actually managed to trick him without batting an eyelid, allowing him to regain control of his position. Not only that, with a wave of her hand, a gust of wind from her sleeves caused the cup of tea that he had just placed on the main table to fall to the ground with a bang. Ning Xuema exclaimed, "I'm sorry." She then instructed Manager Himu, "Go and prepare another cup of fragrant tea for Mr. Luo. Mr. Luo is an honored guest so he should have the best tea. Let's use the circle tea I obtained from Tianping Mountain." Manager Himu paused for a moment, then nodded in agreement and went to prepare the tea. Luo Jiuchen muttered to himself. After all, he hadn't been out in the world for 50,000 years. He had heard of Tianping Mountain, but he had no idea what circle tea was. After a short while, Manager Himu brought over a porcelain cup and gently placed it in front of Luo Jiuchen. "Mr. Luo, please enjoy." The tea in the cup was a dark yellow color and the smell was a bit strange. Chapter 1962. "Mr. Luo, please." Ning Xuema made an inviting gesture to him. "I picked this myself that day. The smell may not be that good but the taste is still very authentic. Mr. Luo will know once you taste it." It was rare for Ning Xuema to be so warm to him. Although Luo Jiuchen was a bit suspicious, he still picked up the cup. He often studied poisons so he could tell whether or not this cup of tea was poisonous with just a sniff. He knew that this cup was indeed tea and that she didn't do anything to it. In order to win her favor, Luo Jiuchen braced himself and took a sip. As soon as the tea entered his mouth, his stomach churned and he almost vomited. What strange taste. It was bitter and astringent, with a faint smell of sweat. Luo Jiuchen was also a person who had tasted countless good teas, but he had never tasted such a disgusting tea in his life. Ning Xuema looked at him with a pair of bright eyes. "How is it? Isn't the taste quite special?" She looked like she was really giving him a cup of excellent tea. Luo Jiuchen suppressed the strange taste in his stomach. He wanted to rinse his mouth, but he couldn't find anything to rinse his mouth with. Hearing Ning Xuema's question, he reluctantly said, "The taste is a bit strange." Ning Xuema smiled slightly. "This is the characteristic of this tea. Just like stinky tofu, it smells bad but it tastes quite good." Luo Jiuchen's lips twitched. This was clearly smelling bad, but drinking it smelled even worse. His eyes flashed. "Oh, this kind of good tea shouldn't be enjoyed by me alone. You should also have a cup." He had already vaguely guessed that she was messing with him. Ning Xuema smiled calmly. "This kind of tea can only be drunk by men. Women can't drink it. This seat only serves this kind of tea to male guests." Luo Jiuchen looked at the sunken tea in the teacup. The more he looked at it, the stranger it seemed. It didn't look like tea but more like grass. He was also an expert. After a moment of observation, he finally recognized the original appearance of this thing. This was clearly the mat grass used to weave straw hats. And looking at the color, it wasn't fresh. Instead, it had been used for a long time. It was already dark and shiny. He secretly gritted his teeth and his gaze fell on Ning Xuema. I wonder how this tea was made. Ning Xuema said seriously, the method of making this tea is extremely complicated. It took the grandson of Marshal Tianpeng to carefully refine it for a year. Head Steward Heimu's lips twitched as he listened. This so-called pen tea was actually disassembled from a broken straw hat, and the straw hat that was given to Luo Jiuchen had been trampled by pigs countless times in the pigsty. Luo Jiuchen knew that he had been tricked by her, but every word she said was so dignified and enthusiastic that he couldn't lose his temper for a while. What's more, he still had the idea of trying to win her back with gentle tactics. He didn't want to fall out with her, and he couldn't find a reason to do so at the moment. Just because of a cup of tea that you don't like? If word got out, it would be bad for his reputation. Therefore, he had no choice but to suffer in silence. He put down the cup of tea and changed the topic. Imo, I heard that you were unwell a few days ago. Are you better now? Ning Xuema smiled. It's all thanks to you. Her injury was completely caused by him. Luo Jiuchen naturally heard the sarcasm in her words, but he pretended not to hear it. He took out a small crystal bottle from his chest and handed it over. Imo, this medicine is very good for your illness. Consider it a little gift from this king. Chapter 1963. Ning Xuema took it and glanced at it before throwing it back to him with a smile. Thank you, but I don't need it anymore. I have something better. She casually took out a bottle of medicine left by Xinjiuli and shook it. Luo Jiuchen was speechless. Although he had been snubbed several times, he didn't have any intention of leaving. Instead, he continued to chat with Ning Xuema. Ning Xuema didn't want to socialize with him anymore. She picked up the teacup. Please have some tea. This was the standard way of sending a guest off. Luo Jiuchen finally stood up and suddenly smiled. He looked at Ning Xuema. Imo, although the supreme divinity is gone, I'm still here. You're an orphan and widowed mother, so you need someone to rely on. I'm willing to be your support. Ning Xuema stood up with a smile. Her voice was gentle, but her tone wasn't. I'm the Devil Lord. I don't need anyone to rely on. Mr. Luo, please go back. Imu, see the guest out. She directly asked him to leave. As soon as she finished speaking, there was a sudden noise outside. The noise was unusual. Manager Himu immediately went out to contact the guards at the door. The guards reported that the venerable of the cultivation sects in the human world had brought a group of people to see the Devil Lord. There were 3 monarchs in the human world, but the real power was held by the venerable of the cultivation sections. He was also the state preceptor of the 3 countries. His martial arts were amazing and his power was overwhelming. No one dared to underestimate him. In the sealing of the purple demon, this state preceptor had come and helped. Why did he suddenly come here? And why did he bring a group of people with him? Ning Xuema couldn't refuse at this time, so she ordered the guards to bring people in. A moment later, the state preceptor came in with 18 subordinates. They obviously didn't come with good intentions. But that wasn't the most important thing. The most important thing was that the subordinates were holding a person with a devil-locking chain. Manager Himu's eyes widened at the sight of this person. Feng Huang. The person being held was one of the 8 male guardians of the devil realm. Ning Xuema narrowed her eyes when she saw her own protector being dragged in like a dog. State Preceptor Kong Jing, what is the meaning of this? Imperial Preceptor Kong Jing was also furious, but he still bowed to Ning Xuema and Luo Jiuchen according to etiquette. Devil Master, this man suddenly ran into my Mirror Heart Palace yesterday and raped my wife. He even killed and injured 4 of my trusted disciples. If I hadn't arrived personally and brought people to capture him, I'm afraid my Mirror Heart Palace would have been destroyed by him. I have always been respectful to the Devil Lord, and I have never dared to overstep my boundaries. Now this person has come to destroy my Mirror Heart Palace. What is his intention? Before Ning Xuema could say anything, Head Steward Himu said decisively, Impossible. Feng Huang had never been close to women. Why would he rape your wife? Imperial Preceptor Kong Jing said angrily, he was caught in bed by my trusted disciples. Who would accuse him in front of so many people? He was evidently prepared early on, and he actually took out a crystal ball. This crystal ball belongs to my bedroom, and it inadvertently recorded the entire process. If the Devil Lord doesn't believe me, this one is willing to open this crystal ball. He even brought a short video. Since he brought it, it was only natural to play it as proof. Ning Xuema had no intention of refusing. Imperial tutor Kong Jing opened the crystal ball as expected, and the crystal ball displayed all sorts of scenes. The state preceptor's wife was dressing up at the table when Feng Huang jumped in through the window. She had just cried out when Feng Huang covered her mouth. Chapter 1964. The state preceptor's wife was dressing up at the table when Feng Huang jumped in through the window. The state preceptor's wife had just cried out in shock when Feng Huang covered her mouth and pushed her onto the bed. He stripped her clothes, struggled, and raped her. The scenes were extremely clear. It was indeed irrefutable evidence. It didn't look photoshopped at all. There shouldn't be such things in this era. After the rape scene was played, the demon generals in the hall, who had been enraged by the capture of their companion, looked at each other, speechless. After Imperial Preceptor Kong Jing finished playing, he raised his head proudly and looked at Ning Xuema. "Demon Master, can't you believe me after seeing all this?" He then looked at Luo Jiuqin, who was sitting on the side and watching the show. "Lord, this matter concerns my reputation. Please make a decision and redress this humble one's grievances." Luo Jiuqin nodded slightly. He looked at Ning Xuema and sighed. "Imo, this time there are both witnesses and material evidence. What do you think?" Now that the 6 realms were at peace, no matter which realm's people committed a crime, they would be treated the same. That was why Imperial Preceptor Kong Jing dared to come here in such an imposing manner. Not only did he come to her door, but before Ning Xuema could say anything, someone came to report that the underworld's underworld king, the beast king of the beast world, and even a heavenly king from the immortal world had arrived. The demons in Mo Palace all paled. The people from these realms had all come together. Obviously, they had heard about Imperial Preceptor Kong Jing's matter, or perhaps Imperial Preceptor Kong Jing had informed them in advance. That was why they came together to be witnesses. No matter how calm General Manager He Mu was, his expression changed at this moment. He felt that this matter was a bit tricky. He couldn't help but look at Ning Xuema, feeling guilty. His demon master had just woken up and had to face such a complicated situation. He was afraid that she wouldn't be able to handle it. Ning Xuema didn't bat an eyelid. She waved her hand and asked someone to invite them in. They were all venerables of their respective realms. They each brought in a few subordinates and bowed to Ning Xuema and Luo Jiuqin. In just a short while, the extremely spacious meeting hall of Mo Palace was actually a bit crowded. These people were really invited by Imperial Preceptor Kong Jing. According to Imperial Preceptor Kong Jing's explanation, it was to invite more people to be witnesses. Actually, it was because he was afraid that Ning Xuema, the demon master, would show favoritism. When these people arrived, Imperial Tutor Kong Jing became even bolder. Looking at Ning Xuema, there was even a hint of coercion in her gaze. "Devil Master, since things have happened here, shouldn't you give Little Ku an explanation?" The other kings also said, "Don't worry, Imperial Advisor Kong Jing. The Demon Lord is the Demon Lord of the 6 realms. She won't favor the Demon realm. She will definitely give Imperial Advisor an explanation." "That's right. This Feng Huang is too bold. He actually did such a shameless thing. I believe that the Devil Lord will not be biased." "Demon Master," everyone spoke one after another. Almost all of them were flattering Ning Xuema on the surface, but in reality they were all praising her. It was as if she didn't cut this Feng Huang into pieces, it wouldn't be enough to appease the anger of the 6 realms. It would also make the people of the 6 realms bitterly disappointed. After all, Ning Xuema was only a 16 or 17-year-old girl. She had just arrived on the God's Demons continent a few years ago. Since these people had seized this opportunity, and with Luo Jiuqin by her side, they wanted to bully her because she was young and inexperienced. They wanted to completely suppress her this time. It was obvious that they wanted to suppress her momentum as the Devil Lord. Naturally, they also wanted to show off their strength to the demon realm, which was already like adding oil to the fire. In a situation where the leaders of the various realms were present, if Ning Xuema favored Feng Huang and didn't punish him, it would definitely arouse the dissatisfaction of these people. They might even follow Luo Jiuqin and directly rebel against her. Chapter 1965. If what Feng Huang had done was true, then it was a crime punishable by death. If Ning Xuema put righteousness before family and executed Feng Huang, the elders of the demon realm would definitely be displeased. After all, Feng Huang was one of the 8 great guardians of the demon realm. He was usually loyal to Ning Xuema and had contributed greatly to the rise and fall of the demon realm. If he was executed just like that, the people of the demon realm might be disappointed. Moreover, this person was Ning Xuema's right-hand man. If he was executed, it would be the same as cutting off one of their own arms. This was a difficult situation to deal with. Countless gazes gathered on Ning Xuema, waiting for her to give an answer. Ning Xuema sat there the whole time, leisurely twirling a cup of tea in her hand. No emotions could be seen on her beautiful face. These people spoke one after another. She seemed to be listening, but at the same time she didn't seem to be listening. When everyone was almost done, Ning Xuema slammed the teacup on the table. "Are you all done?" This casual sentence caused the entire hall to fall silent. Ning Xuema spoke again lazily. "Since you're all done, let me say a few words." Everyone looked at her. Ning Xuema looked at Imperial Tutor Kong Jing. "Imperial Tutor, do you want to show the scene in your crystal ball to these people who came later? Do you want them to be your witnesses?" Imperial Tutor Kong Jing snorted. "What's so difficult about that?" He immediately played it again. After all, the scene contained many things that were not suitable for children. The people of the demon realm didn't think much of it, but the people of the other realms couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed when they saw this scene. This was especially so for Xian Bo from the celestial realm. When he saw the home run, he immediately closed his eyes, indicating that he didn't want to see it. After playing it again, the Imperial Tutor said proudly, "This is ironclad evidence. Everyone, please uphold justice for me." The crowd was stirred up once again and a new round of criticism began. They all requested that Feng Huang be dismembered or dismembered. When the group of devils saw it a second time, the impact was not as great. The people of the devil realm usually did not care about trifles. For some devils, killing, arson, burning and plundering were common activities. However, after Ning Xuema took over the devil world, she was able to obtain a good territory for the devil world, allowing the devils to truly recuperate and build up their strength. Only then did they manage to live peacefully for a few years. Ning Xuema then issued a series of decrees, forbidding them from doing those evil things. Only then did they turn over a new leaf. After living for so long, which one of these devils was clean? In their hearts, even if Feng Huang really did it, it was no big deal. Some of the hot-tempered ones even began to quarrel with people from other realms. "So what if I raped your wife? You're such a big imperial preceptor's residence, yet you're so lax in guarding it. Your wife deserves to be raped." "That's right. Besides, your wife is so ugly. Protector Feng is giving her face by sleeping with her." As soon as these words came out, Imperial Tutor Kong Jing's handsome face was so angry that even his beard stood up. "All of you shut up for this king." Ning Xuema shouted at the irascible devils who could not do anything right, but were more likely to spoil things. General Steward Himu also felt that these devils were too unreasonable, so he simply cast a silence curse on them to make them shut up. Imperial Tutor Kong Jing was furious. "Devil Master, can the devil world rely on the devil master's support to bully others like this?" The other kings also expressed their condemnation. Luo Jiuchen's handsome face also sank as he looked at Ning Xuema. "Amo, you can't side with them anymore. They're too unreasonable. Amo, if you can't bear to punish the main culprit, how about this king handle it for you?" Chapter 1966. Clearly, he wanted to take the opportunity to establish his authority and suppress her in front of the kings of all realms. This plan was most likely planned by this bastard behind the scenes. If Ning Xuema did not handle it well, she would either lose the support of the people in the Devil Kingdom or become the target of the other 5 realms. If she let Luo Jiuchen handle it, not only would the people of the Devil Kingdom be disappointed, but her prestige in the 6 realms would also be greatly reduced. This bastard had a good plan. It was a good plan to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Everyone's eyes turned to Ning Xuema again. Some were angry, some were looking forward to it, and some were waiting to see a joke. Most of them felt that this little devil master was going to be embarrassed this time. The generals of the Devil Kingdom glared at the people who were shouting fiercely. Naturally, the people from the other realms were not convinced. They held their weapons and confronted each other coldly. It seemed that if a spark was thrown into the field, it would explode with a bang and it would be out of control. They were all waiting for Ning Xuema's next sentence. If she said something wrong, they were afraid that a fight would break out. The 8 mythological beasts probably heard the movement here and rushed over with little Nianma. They supported Ning Xuema unconditionally and stood silently behind her. The power of the 8 mythological beasts was still very shocking. After all, any one of them could beat up most of the guards brought by the king 100 times over. The kings and state preceptor Kong Jing turned to look at Luo Jiuchen. "My great lord, you have to do justice." Luo Jiuchen slowly stood up. His handsome face, which always had a smile, was now full of frost. Amo, you and I are friends, but I am the guardian of the heavenly law. Naturally, I have to uphold justice for the 6 realms. You, as a guardian, have committed a heinous crime. If you are not executed, it will not be enough to appease the people. Since you can't bear to do it, let me do it for you. A purple light quickly gathered in his palm. Ning Xuema slowly stood up and said slowly, "Justice? The truth is not clear yet. What justice can you give to the 6 realms?" Her voice was clear and loud, and everyone in the hall could hear it. Everyone frowned. Luo Jiuchen also said, "Imo, the truth is very clear. The witnesses and evidence are all here. How can it not be clear?" Ning Xuema smiled faintly. "Wait for me to interrogate him. If Feng Huang has indeed committed a grave mistake, I will not show favoritism. All of you shut up." The last sentence was spoken with a stern expression. She now had a kind of dignity. When she shouted like this, those who were still making a racket felt an indescribable chill in their hearts. Sure enough, they shut their mouths. Ning Xuema's gaze swept across the crowd. "Next, I'll interrogate you. Whoever I ask, you'll have to answer truthfully." Luo Jiuchen's eyes flashed slightly and he smiled. "Okay, it's better to ask clearly." He sat to the side. Everyone's eyes turned to Ning Xuema, but Ning Xuema's gaze landed on Feng Huang. Feng Huang's acupoints had obviously been hit and he was injured. His handsome face was red, but he couldn't say a word. "Let him go first," Ning Xuema ordered. Everyone wanted to make a fuss again, but Ning Xuema added, "If he really did do such a thing, I will personally punish him. I won't allow him to escape. But if he was innocent and was framed, then wouldn't he have been tied up for so long in vain?" This sentence silenced everyone. Manager Himu hurriedly stepped forward and used a spell to untie the demon-trapping rope on Feng Huang's body. He also unsealed Feng Huang's acupoint. As soon as Feng Huang was free, he immediately knelt. "Devil Master. This subordinate has been wronged." State Preceptor Kong Jing's eyes widened, and he wanted to scold her again. Ning Xuema coldly glanced at him. "State Preceptor, don't be impatient. What's false can't be true and what's true can't be false. I'll just give you the truth." Chapter 1967. Ning Xuema glanced at him coldly. "Imperial Tutor, don't be impatient. Lies can't be true and the truth can't be false. I'll just tell you the truth." As expected, Imperial Tutor Kong Jing shut his mouth again. "Feng Huang, you can speak now." Ning Xuema spoke. "Yes." Feng Huang's face was filled with grief and indignation. Reporting to the Devil Master, Feng Huang was ordered to go to the human world 3 days ago. Someone ambushed me from behind and knocked me unconscious. When I woke up, I found myself in the dungeon of Imperial Tutor Kong Jing's residence. I was so angry that I broke in and killed 3 of his guards and injured one. I was about to break out when Imperial Tutor Kong Jing arrived. He captured me and brought me here. Devil Master, I don't even know what his wife looks like. I don't even know where his bedroom door is facing. How can you talk about rape? Nonsense. My crystal ball clearly recorded your despicable actions. You can't deny it." Imperial Tutor Kong Jing was furious. Ning Xuema glanced at him and said coldly, "Imperial Tutor Kong Jing, you've been in the human world for a long time. You're in the court of the human world. What's the punishment for yelling at the court without the permission of the official?" Imperial Tutor Kong Jing? "This." Ning Xuema's voice was indifferent. "Are you saying that the Imperial Tutor doesn't know the law as well as the common people?" This time Ning Xuema grasped the reason. Even if the other kings wanted to side with Imperial Tutor Kong Jing, they couldn't. Imperial Tutor Kong Jing was tongue-tied. He snorted and said, "I know my mistake. Please ask again, Devil Master." Ning Xuema turned to Feng Huang and asked, "This shows that you're lying. I know a thing or two about your demonic techniques. You can't get close to ordinary people. According to what I know, even if 2 Imperial Advisor Kong Jing were to join forces, they would not be your match. Why was it that you were captured the moment he arrived?" Feng Huang lowered his head. "Everything I said is true. Imperial Tutor Kong Jing might have been hiding his strength. After he appeared, I was indeed no match for him. I was defeated within 30 moves." Ning Xuema smiled and turned to look at Imperial Advisor Kong Jing. "Kong Jing, he said that you captured him. Is that true?" Imperial Preceptor Kong Jing choked for a moment before saying, "I was indeed the one who captured him. However, he didn't come out of the prison as he said." "He came out of my palace?" So you're saying that it's true that you captured him? That's right. Ning Xuema smiled again and said, it seems that the Imperial Preceptor has been hiding his strength all the time. That time when we quelled the Purple Evil riot, the Imperial Preceptor still wanted to hide his strength at such a critical moment. The Imperial Preceptor really hides his strength well. State Preceptor Kong Jing didn't expect her to say this. I didn't hide my strength. I wasn't feeling well during the Purple Evil riot, so I didn't perform at my normal level. As for capturing him this time, it's also because this guy is in prison. Speaking of this, his face suddenly changed and he immediately changed his words. It's because he was overworked and didn't have enough strength, so he was captured by me so quickly. After saying this, he almost broke out in a cold sweat. He was almost tricked by Ning Xuema and said the words starved in prison for 2 days. Fortunately, he was quick-witted and changed his words in time. Ning Xuema was good at reading people's expressions. Imperial Preceptor Kong Jing thought that he had changed his words seamlessly, but she had already seen through the clues. She had a rough idea of what was going on in her heart, but she didn't show it. She just smiled and said, Feng Huang, are you still a man? You just flirted with that woman for about 15 minutes, and you're already overworked and don't have enough strength? Feng Huang's handsome face turned red. Demon Lord, I really wasn't. Chapter 1968. Ning Xuema continued, regardless of whether that person was you or not, let me ask you, how long were you bound by the demon trapping rope this time? Did you replenish your food and water along the way? Feng Huang didn't understand why Ning Xuema was asking these questions, and the others naturally didn't know either. Many of them felt that her questions had strayed too far from the topic. A few of them opened their mouths and wanted to speak, but they held themselves back. In the end, Feng Huang answered honestly, I was first trapped in prison for 2 days and didn't eat anything. After that, I was captured and bound by the demon trapping rope for an entire day, and I didn't eat anything either. Ning Xuema turned to Imperial Tutor Kong Jing. Imperial Tutor Kong Jing, is it true that he was bound by the demon trapping rope for an entire day and didn't eat anything? I'm only asking this one question and you only need to answer this one question. Imperial Tutor Kong Jing paused for a moment. Yes, but what he said about being in prison is false. Ning Xuema stood up and waved her hand, causing the demon trapping rope to fly into her hand. She tugged at it and said indifferently, according to what I know, not only can the person bound by the demon trapping rope not move, but their demonic power will also be depleted. Her gaze landed on the celestial world Xian Bo. This item was created by you, so I wonder if what I said is correct? That Xian Bo nodded. That's right. Then, according to your understanding of this item, how much demonic power will be depleted after being bound by it for an entire day? That Xian Bo frowned. About 30% to 40%. Ning Xuema nodded and didn't ask any further. She turned to Imperial Tutor Kong Jing and asked, Imperial Tutor, your cultivation has increased greatly recently. Did you eat some kind of spirit pill? Imperial Tutor Kong Jing didn't understand what she was trying to say. I didn't eat any spirit pills. I just recovered. Ah, that's really worth celebrating. Ning Xuema smiled. Imperial Tutor, you were full of energy just now and your face was glowing. It seems like you're in good condition. Imperial Tutor Kong Jing nodded. Well said, well said. Ning Xuema changed the topic. Since that's the case, then please capture Feng Huang again. Let me see the Imperial Preceptor's divine power. As soon as she said that, everyone was stunned. They really couldn't understand why Ning Xuema's trial had gone so far away. Demon Master, what is the meaning of this? Now is the time to investigate Feng Huang's rape case, not for them to compete. Luo Jiuchen was the first to speak. The others naturally agreed as well. Ning Xuema said indifferently, I have my own reasons for judging the case. Don't worry, this martial arts competition won't change anything. I just want to verify one thing. His gaze then shifted to Imperial Tutor Kong Jing and Feng Huang. The two of you must do your best. No one is allowed to go easy on them. It doesn't matter if you kill them or injure them. Feng Huang's eyes lit up. Understood. Imperial Tutor Kong Jing's expression changed. This, Ning Xuema asked, could it be that state teacher is afraid? Imperial Preceptor Kong Jing was furious. Why would I be afraid? If I can catch him once, I can catch him a second time. Ning Xuema nodded. You're ambitious. The two of you, please come to the training field. Mo Palace's martial arts training field was also incomparably huge. Everyone stood still in the martial arts training field. Ning Xuema stood beside Luo Jiuchen intentionally or unintentionally. The 8 mythological beasts stood behind her. Little Nian Ma, on the other hand, walked to Ning Imo and stood in front of him excitedly. He loved watching people fight. He had a good relationship with Feng Huang, so he cheered for Feng Huang happily. At this time, the two people in the field had already begun to fight. They went back and forth and there was a storm brewing. Chapter 1969. Gongzi Luo, who do you think will win? Ning Xuema asked Luo Jiuchen with a smile. Luo Jiuchen looked at her and smiled. Gongzi Luo? The seat. Gongzi Luo hasn't ascended to the throne yet, so it's a bit early to call you Lord. I will ascend to that throne. Let's wait and see. Ning Xuema smiled like a flower. She was born very beautiful, and her smile was like a flower blooming in the morning. Luo Jiuchen's heart swayed and he narrowed his eyes. I hope you will be there on that day. Ning Xuema nodded. I will be there. She changed the topic. Gongzi Luo, the Lord of Heaven and Earth, must be impartial and impartial. I wonder if Gongzi Luo can do this? Her voice wasn't soft, and it attracted the attention of the people who were watching the fight. Under everyone's gaze, Luo Jiuchen naturally couldn't say anything else. Of course. Ning Xuema smiled again. Then this seat can rest assured. It seems that Gongzi Luo won't side with either side in this fight? Luo Jiuchen. Of course. Ning Xuema turned to the 8 mythological beasts. Did you all hear Gongzi Luo's words? The 8 mythological beasts nodded together. Yes. 8 pairs of bright eyes looked at Luo Jiuchen, paying attention to his every move. Luo Jiuchen's expression wasn't very good. What do you mean? Ning Xuema laughed in a clear voice. For the sake of fairness and impartiality, everyone should supervise each other. If anyone dares to side with anyone, then that person will be considered as going against justice. Everyone can gang up on them. Such an order was very fair and no one had any objections. Of course, those who wanted to play tricks in the dark naturally didn't dare to act rashly under the eyes of so many experts. The two people in the field were already fighting fiercely, and after half an hour the outcome was finally decided. Feng Huang won. Imperial Preceptor Kong Jing lost miserably. If it wasn't for Ning Xuema's timely intervention and pulling him out, Imperial Preceptor Kong Jing's head would have been smashed to smithereens by Feng Huang. Imperial Advisor Kong Jing's face was pale. I didn't perform well today. And he is also in his best condition. Ning Xuema chuckled. Imperial Preceptor, you're wrong. Feng Huang hasn't eaten for 3 days, and he's been tied up by the demon trapping rope for a day. It's good enough that he can use 60 to 70% of his power. How can he be in his best condition? Imperial Tutor, you lied just now. Imperial Tutor Kong Jing was taken aback. How did I lie? Ning Xuema said coldly. Feng Huang was not caught by the State Preceptor himself. It was someone else. Imperial Tutor Kong Jing's expression changed. Demon Master, you're wrong. I was the one who captured him. Feng Huang can testify to that. Ning Xuema looked at Feng Huang. Feng Huang, is the move he used today similar to the move he used to catch you? Feng Huang took a deep breath and said, the moves are similar, but the power of that day was more than 10 times stronger than today. Otherwise he wouldn't have been caught within 30 moves. Ning Xuema looked at Imperial Tutor Kong Jing. What did the State Preceptor say? Did the State Preceptor's power suddenly deteriorate today? However, I see that the State Preceptor's performance today is similar to when he destroyed Zisha. It doesn't seem like he's performing abnormally. The reason for this situation is that the State Preceptor who caught Feng Huang is not the State Preceptor today but someone else. Imperial Tutor Kong Jing's expression was very ugly, but he couldn't refute it. Chapter 1970. Luo Jiuchen spoke from the side. Even if Feng Huang was caught by someone else, what does this have to do with Feng Huang raping the State Preceptor's wife? What you need to investigate is the case, not these minor details. Everyone chimed in once again. Ning Xuema smiled leisurely. Who says it has nothing to do with it? Since State Preceptor Kong Jing has an indistinguishable substitute, who knows if the person who broke into the State Preceptor's bedroom and raped the State Preceptor's wife wasn't someone else? Perhaps someone impersonated Feng Huang and did this kind of shady thing, and then put the blame on Feng Huang, making him unable to defend himself. State Preceptor Kong Jing's old face turned green and red. The Devil Lord is clearly biased towards his subordinate. I have caught him in the act. Could it be that the current Feng Huang is also a fake? Is someone pretending to be him? Ning Xuema indifferently said, the current Feng Huang is naturally the real one. However, your testimony is clearly different from his. He was plotted against in the mountains and then locked in your prison. When he was caught again, he was only caught for breaking out of prison and was not caught for committing any immoral acts. You lied. State Preceptor Kong Jing was furious. Now it's proven that you were the one who lied first. Ning Xuema stopped him. State Preceptor Kong Jing choked. Even if this lord did make a mistake in catching him, it is true that he broke into this lord's bedroom and raped my wife. That crystal ball is irrefutable evidence. Ning Xuema's lips curled up slightly. Then this lord will ask State Preceptor a few more questions. State Preceptor must answer truthfully. Where is the State Preceptor's crystal ball placed? In this lord's bedroom. Where is the bedroom? On the table. Is that table facing the State Preceptor's bed? Yes. Then can this crystal ball record by itself? Or does it need to be controlled by someone? State Preceptor Kong Jing paused. It is activated by itself. According to State Preceptor, it will record everything in the State Preceptor's bedroom at any time? It should be so. Ning Xuema smiled and said, I didn't know that State Preceptor had such an interest in the boudoir. Could it be that when State Preceptor and Madam made love, this thing also recorded itself? Imperial Tutor Kong Jing's face turned red. This seat will close the crystal ball at that time. Then why did the Imperial Tutor place the crystal ball there? Are you here to keep an eye on your wife? Are you afraid that she'll cheat on you? Imperial Preceptor Kong Jing, that's not it. This crystal ball belongs to my wife. It actually belongs to Madam. Then she must know the function of this crystal ball? Of course. That's even more wrong. Any woman would be shy about this kind of thing and not want others to know about it. Could it be that she likes to record the fun of you and her in the boudoir and likes to watch it for fun when she has nothing to do? Nonsense. This seat's wife is a lady from a noble family. How could she like to do such things? This seat said that this seat and this crystal ball is closed. That's even more wrong. Since this crystal ball has the ability to record itself, and your wife is a lady from a noble family, why would she place this crystal ball in such a position to record the things in bed? Isn't she afraid that one day she will forget to close it and accidentally record you and her that shouldn't be in the picture? She has a good memory. She won't forget. It's better to be safe than sorry. If she knew that this crystal ball had this function, she would have placed it in a more inconvenient place and not in this position. Chapter 1971. Unless he wanted to record it on purpose. Everyone, if you had such a thing in your room, would you let it face the bed all day and night? Everyone shook their heads. Normal people wouldn't do that. Ning Xuema looked at Imperial Tutor Kong Jing with a cold gaze. Unless Imperial Tutor Kong Jing wanted to record something, he wouldn't do that. And what he wanted to record, everyone can see at a glance now. Imperial Tutor Kong Jing clenched his fingers in his sleeves. It's me who has this special hobby. Seeing everyone's subtle gazes, he gritted his teeth and said, I have a hobby of recording the music of my boudoir. I didn't record him specifically. Then according to what Imperial Tutor said, there are other contents recorded in this crystal ball? Why not play a part? Ning Xuema pressed on. How can I record the music of my boudoir in public? Devil Master, you're making things difficult for me. Imperial Tutor Kong Jing was angry. I didn't ask Imperial Tutor to record the music of my boudoir. Before Feng Huang invaded Imperial Tutor's room, he should have recorded many scenes of your wife alone in the room, right? Why not play it? Because the crystal ball can hold two little things, the things inside are removed every day. That's even more wrong. Could it be that before Feng Huang entered the bedroom, the crystal ball had just removed the things in front, and Feng Huang just happened to start recording as soon as he entered? Then it closed immediately after recording? That's right. Then it closed on its own? After all, Imperial Tutor's wife had just been violated and couldn't cry over it. It's impossible that she jumped up and closed it right after it was done. Imperial Tutor, don't you think so? Yes. Then why did it close on its own? Could it be that the content inside just happened to be full? It couldn't store anything else? Yes. The content was full, so it closed on its own. Imperial Tutor Kong Jing nodded. You're lying again. Ning Xuema sneered. I've already seen the crystal ball. It can record for at least another 2 hours. If you don't believe me, I can use the crystal ball to continue recording. Imperial Preceptor, do you dare to take out the crystal ball and let me personally verify it? Imperial Tutor Kong Jing's face flushed red. Ning Xuema's questions came one after another. She asked them too quickly and beat around the bush, catching him off guard. It was too late to change his tune now. He steeled his heart and decided to play shameless. I remember wrongly. It was my wife who turned it off the moment she regained her freedom. Ning Xuema smiled. Then Imperial Preceptor's wife is really generous. At that moment he still wanted to jump down and turn it off. Alright, you're right. But why isn't there a scene of the State Preceptor's wife pouncing over to close the crystal ball? You can't be telling me that this crystal ball can be destroyed with a single finger, right? When Imperial Tutor Kong Jing closed the crystal ball's image, he had used his finger to press a red dot on the crystal ball. It was impossible for him to use the void finger. At this point in the case, the situation was more or less clear. The crystal ball was deliberately placed in that position to record this. Moreover, after recording the evidence, someone immediately turned it off. Imperial Tutor Kong Jing was almost speechless. Ning Xuema continued, also, when I saw the scene in the crystal ball just now, Imperial Preceptor's wife didn't struggle violently. Instead, it seemed like she wanted to resist but welcomed it. She even cooperated a few times in the middle. Looking at Imperial Preceptor's wife's situation, it didn't seem like she was looking at a stranger. Instead, it seemed like she was looking at her husband. Chapter 1972. Imperial Tutor Kong Jing's old face flushed red. Nonsense? Nonsense, my wife is a chaste woman, how could she be willing to do that? Ning Xuema clapped her hands. That's right, your wife should know that the person who raped her was her husband in disguise, so... Imperial Tutor Kong Jing sneered. According to Demon Master's words, this king pretended to be Feng Huang and recorded this with my wife to frame Feng Huang? Ning Xuema smiled. Wrong. It's true that you deliberately framed Feng Huang, but the man and woman in the crystal ball are not you and your wife. Imperial Tutor Kong Jing was stunned, and the others couldn't help but say, where did Demon Master's words come from? Could it be that Demon Master knows Imperial Tutor's wife? Ning Xuema shook her head. I don't know. This king deduced this because of the current Imperial Tutor Kong Jing. Let me ask you, if the man and woman in the crystal ball were Imperial Tutor and his wife being intimate, even if they pretended to be someone else, he would still have a psychological shadow. How could he still play it over and over again so calmly? If this king's guess is correct, that man and woman are both pretenders, and Imperial Tutor found someone to put on a show. Which one of these people wasn't a wily old fox? At this moment, their hearts were like mirrors. Countless people looked at Imperial Tutor Kong Jing, waiting for him to give a reasonable explanation. The people of the demon race were all filled with righteous indignation, glaring at Imperial Tutor Kong Jing, all of them rubbing their fists and angrily rebuking him. Imperial Tutor Kong Jing didn't expect Ning Xuema's reasoning ability to be so strong at such a young age, to be able to directly deduce the truth of the matter. However, it was impossible for him to admit to framing Feng Huang. He smiled coldly. Although Demon Master's words are clear and logical, they are just inferences. It's hard to accept. Luo Jiuchen also shook his head and sighed. These are all your deductions, they can't be true. There were always exceptions to everything. Who knew if this Feng Huang did the exact opposite this time? Demons generally can't be inferred with common sense. His words were obviously biased towards Imperial Tutor Kong Jing. The people from the other realms also looked at each other. Originally, they had believed Ning Xuema's deduction, but now that they heard Luo Jiuchen's words, everyone was suspicious. After all, the demon race had left a very bad impression on the other realms. They were described as cunning, cruel, vicious and so on. Ning Xuema frowned slightly. It was obvious that Luo Jiuchen was the mastermind behind this matter. His purpose was to force her to submit. Just as she had expected, the fake state preceptor who had captured Feng Huang was Luo Jiuchen in disguise. This state preceptor Kong Jing had been bribed by him, so he had set up such a trap to force her. Now, all the evidence was against her. She had used her sharp tongue and powerful reasoning skills to turn the situation around, but Luo Jiuchen's simple words had wiped out all her efforts. He had a smile on his face the entire time and even looked at her with tender eyes, but he had spared no effort in setting her up. This incident seemed to be a coincidence, but it had been carefully planned. After Luo Jiuchen's smooth operation, the king of the underworld, the king of the human realm, and the king of the beast realm seemed to have been won over by him. Even the immortal realm was watching. And seeing the leaders of the other realms come here at the same time, it was clearly not a coincidence. These people didn't really want to witness the truth, but followed Luo Jiuchen to trample on her demon realm. Sure enough, the king of the underworld and the king of the beast realm spoke one after another, echoing Luo Jiuchen's words. Chapter 1973. Sure enough, the king of the underworld and the king of the beast realm spoke one after another, agreeing with Luo Jiuchen's words. The general idea was that it was impossible to know the truth based on speculation alone. The demon realm had to come up with decent evidence to prove their innocence. If they couldn't come up with it, the other realms would not be convinced. The other realms might completely break off relations with the demon realm when they were in danger. If a wolf wanted to eat a sheep, no matter what reason the sheep came up with, the wolf would refute it. The demon realm was in such a situation now. As the saying goes, everyone kicks a man who is down. The demon realm had been very high profile these few years, which inevitably caused the other realms to be dissatisfied. Especially the human realm and the beast realm, who were the most bullied. They couldn't wait to drag the demon realm down and step on them. The immortal realm had a large territory snatched away by the demon realm, so they naturally wanted to take the opportunity to get it back. When Shinjuli was alive, he was the supreme god, the supremacy of the 6 realms. He and the demon master worked together, so the other realms didn't dare to say anything. Even if they were dissatisfied, they didn't dare to show it. But Shinjuli's soul had been scattered, and the new supremacy was born. His skills were also extremely high, almost unfathomable. The new supremacy and the demon master didn't seem to get along, and the new supremacy wanted to step on the demon master. The others were all smart, so they naturally followed suit. Firstly, they wanted to curry favor with the new supremacy, and secondly, they all wanted a piece of the pie, so they were desperately trying to find the weak points of the demon realm. Even if they couldn't find a weak point, they had to create a weak point to grab. Although Ning Xuema was still the demon master, she had not recovered from her serious injuries, and the new supremacy's skills were obviously higher than hers. It was the best time to bully her. People liked to step on the weak and flatter the strong, and it was even more so between countries. There were no eternal friends, no eternal enemies, only eternal interests. Since these people could ascend to the position of the head of a realm, which one of them wasn't two-faced? Which one of them was a kind little white rabbit? They were all lions and wolves that ate people without spitting out the bones. When faced with great danger, these people could work together against a common enemy. But when the danger was gone, they naturally began to make plans for their own territories. After all, Ning Xuema had been a secret agent for so many years. What she understood most was human nature. At this moment, when he saw the expressions of these people, he could naturally guess what they were thinking. Although she despised him in her heart, there was nothing she could do at this moment. She had to find more evidence. Otherwise, the devil realm would be in imminent danger once these people got hold of their weakness and attacked them together. But where would new evidence be easy to find? Luo Jiuchen added fuel to the fire. Do you have nothing to say? Ning Xuema frowned. Just as she was about to speak, Feng Huang, who had been keeping his head down, seemed to have made up his mind. He raised his head and said, "Don't make things difficult for my devil lord. If I can prove my innocence and prove that this is a false accusation, how are you going to punish the person who framed me?" Everyone looked at each other. Luo Jiuchen didn't take it to heart. "How are you going to prove yourself? Young Master Luo, please explain how you will deal with the person who framed you." Feng Huang insisted on his opinion. Luo Jiuchen only thought that he was desperate to threaten him. After all, Feng Huang was the person involved. If he could prove his innocence, he would have done so long ago. Why would he wait until now? So Luo Jiuchen was happy to act selfless. "If it is proven that this is a false accusation, not only will I restore your honor, I will make the decision to make State Preceptor Kongjing kowtow to you 8 times. Chapter 1974. Ning Xuema sneered. "You did such a slanderous thing and almost harmed my devil race's law protector's life, yet you think you can just kowtow 8 times and be done with it? If Master Luo is really the master of the 6 realms, is he really so selfless? Aren't you afraid of being ridiculed?" Luo Jiuchen was stunned by her words and snorted, "Then what will the demon master do?" Ning Xuema's gaze fell on Imperial Tutor Kongjing's face. "This lord wants his life. Let others know the price of framing others." Imperial Tutor Kongjing's expression changed and he couldn't help but look at Luo Jiuchen. Luo Jiuchen gave him a calm look and looked at Ning Xuema. The demon master is going too far. If Feng Huang can't prove his innocence, then what will the demon master do? Ning Xuema said, I will kill him with my own hands. Then use this lord's life to pay for it. This was an unprecedentedly huge bet. Luo Jiuchen's expression changed slightly. He did want to force Ning Xuema to submit and then admit defeat, but he didn't want her life. Imo, what kind of status do you have? How can you bet your life on a subordinate? Ning Xuema raised her head and smiled. That's because this lord believes in him. This lord's subordinate will not be bullied by anyone. Her words warmed the hearts of all the demons. The demon master who advanced and retreated with them was the king they would die for. Since she said this, Luo Jiuchen couldn't say anything else. Everyone's gaze fell on Feng Huang, waiting for him to prove his innocence. Feng Huang secretly gritted his teeth. This subordinate will never rape a woman because this subordinate is a natural eunuch. It was earth-shattering. Everyone's eyes widened and even Feng Huang's companions were shocked. They had known him for so many years and only knew that he didn't get close to women, but they didn't expect him to be a natural eunuch. This natural eunuch was naturally easy to prove. They just had to examine it. Feng Huang was brought to a quiet room and each realm sent a person to examine it. Moments later, these people all came out and reported to their masters that Feng Huang was truly castrated. There was not the slightest bit of exaggeration. Since he was a natural eunuch, then the man who had entered the imperial tutor's bedroom and made love with the imperial tutor's wife for so long was naturally not him. Everything seemed to have come to light. Imperial Preceptor Kong Jing probably didn't expect the other party to have such a trump card. His face turned pale for a moment, and he couldn't help but look at Luo Jiuchen. Hi Lord? He seemed to want to say something but Luo Jiuchen said coldly, I hate framing the most in my life. Kong Jing, I didn't expect you to be this kind of person. Without waiting for Kong Jing to speak, Luo Jiuchen had already launched a thunderous attack. This farce ended with Imperial Preceptor Kong Jing being executed by Luo Jiuchen. The people from the other realms could not stay any longer and left one after another. Before Luo Jiuchen left, he smiled at Ning Xuema. Imo, you're very smart. Ning Xuema's lips curled. Thank you for the compliment. Imo, it's not that I don't want to pursue the matter, but I can't bear to see you lose your life. Imo, you're heartless to me but I can't be heartless to you. These words were transmitted by Luo Jiuchen with deep affection. Luo Jiuchen, I also know that you're behind all of this. I'm giving you face by not exposing you. Ning Xuema also transmitted her voice, not backing down. Aha, Imo, you're really too smart. I really admire you. So, I will never give up on you. Luo Jiuchen laughed and left. In this dispute, the demon realm seemed to have won, but Ning Xuema was not relaxed. Chapter 1975. In this dispute, the demon world seemed to have won, but Ning Xuema didn't feel relaxed. She knew that as long as she didn't yield, Luo Jiuchen would continue to target her, and even the entire demon world. This incident was just the beginning. He would probably have many more schemes in the future. Right now, what she needed to do was to be cautious and careful. She had General Manager He Mu give the order that no one in the demon world should move recklessly or go to other realms to do things. They should know their place and not let other realms catch them. General Manager He Mu naturally did as he was told. The demons in Mo Palace were better off. After all, they were under Ning Xuema's direct control. Even if they felt stifled, they were still very obedient and behaved with their tails between their legs. However, the demons in Mo Palace weren't the only ones in the demon world. Most of the demons were outside. Besides, demons had always been unrestrained and liked to wander around. If they were confined to one place, it would be better to just kill them. Therefore, there were many demons in the demon world who obeyed in public but opposed in private. They agreed verbally but they still did whatever they wanted in secret. Speaking of which, it was strange. As long as they left the demon world, they usually didn't return. First, they disappeared, then they would find all kinds of miserable corpses in some place. Every demon's inexplicable death would cause a small commotion in the demon world. When these demons sneaked out, no one told on them. However, once they died, their families would cry injustice and complain to Mo Palace, begging Mo Palace to find justice for them. This kind of thing happened endlessly. General Manager He Mu had to deal with this mess every day. He was in a terrible fix. However, he was afraid that Ning Xuema would be worried, so he didn't report these things. He sent people to deal with them as much as possible. Ning Xuema was also very busy these days. She stayed in the medicine refining room every day to refine medicine and raise her level. This kind of thing happened again and again, making the already irascible demons even angrier. General Manager Himu, how long are we going to keep acting like cowards every day? A high-ranking demon general finally couldn't help but ask. That's right. Someone is clearly targeting us. As soon as we leave the demon world, no matter if we do evil or not, we will be schemed against by the other realms. Are we going to keep enduring like this? I can't take it anymore. Why should we act like cowards? I want to go out and fight a bloody battle. I don't want to suffer from this coward's humiliation. That's right. This time, someone is targeting our demon realm. Ning Xuema, who was passing by, heard the noise coming from the front hall. She paused and thought for a moment. Then she turned around and walked in. In the hall, the demon generals were making a racket. When Ning Xuema suddenly came in, the entire hall quieted down. Head steward Himu's expression changed. He was afraid that Ning Xuema would be distracted, so he didn't report to her. Now that she heard about it, he was afraid that she would be sad. Fiend Lord. He took a step forward. Just as he was about to say something, Ning Xuema waved her hand. She looked around at the demons and said, "Everyone here is a leading figure in the demon world. I'm sure you are familiar with the affairs of the demon world. Before this lord came, what was the situation when the people of the demon world went out?" The demons looked at each other. Demons weren't very popular in the 6 realms. They lived in remote places and had to disguise themselves every time they went out to fish. Once their identities were exposed, they were like street rats that everyone wanted to beat up. In fact, the situation was even worse than now. Chapter 1976. It was just that after Ning Xuema unified the devil world, she gave them a few years of peace. After such a long time, it was natural for them to feel uncomfortable and aggrieved when they returned to the dark days. When the demons thought of what happened at that time, the injustice in their hearts finally faded a lot. Devil Master, we all understand your difficulties and we don't mean to complain. It's just that we've been bullied by people from other realms and feel uncomfortable. Someone bowed and apologized. Ning Xuema looked at them and sighed secretly. These people were all hot-blooded men, and it was indeed wrong for them to be cooped up like this every day. Everyone, this kind of life won't last long. Hold back your anger for now and wait for an opportunity. Do you understand? Ning Xuema could only say so much. Sometimes she couldn't say too much so as not to fall into the ears of people with ulterior motives. Her eyes were shining, and although her voice was not loud, it had the power to stabilize people's hearts. The demons finally calmed down. Ning Xuema said again, "Pass down my order. No one in the devil world is allowed to leave without orders. If anyone violates this order, they will be permanently expelled from the devil world. Mo Palace will not be responsible for anything that happens in the outside world." The demons dispersed. Ning Xuema sat there in a daze for a moment, then slowly walked to the medicine refining room. When she passed by a small garden, she heard the conversation of the 2 little demons again. "I really don't know when this kind of cowardly life will end. Yes, our devil master is really cowardly now. She's being bullied like this and doesn't even dare to fart. I don't know where her original prestige went. Yes, now she only knows how to show off in the devil world. She's nothing when she goes out. I heard that Supremacy Luo held a 6 realms talk in the celestial world 2 days ago, but he didn't send her an invitation. Actually, I'm curious, why does she stay in Mo Palace every day? Why can't she go out and communicate with other realms? This way the people of the devil world won't be inferior when they go out. Who knows? Now, except for our devil world, the other realms are all trying to curry favor with Supremacy Luo. I heard that the other 5 realms got a lot of benefits from him. In fact, our devil master should also curry favor with that person. Does she think it's still the time when the supreme divinity was still around? Who is she showing her aloofness to? Exactly. Things were different now. In the past, the supreme divinity was on our side. Even if he didn't stand up for the devil realm, he wouldn't go against them either. But now this future supremacy doesn't care about this. After all, a mountain can't accommodate 2 tigers. Naturally, he won't tolerate our devil lord. In the future we will have to suffer even more. The 2 little she-devils talked more and more happily. Later on they complained about the injustice. Steward Himu, who was by Ning Xuema's side, frowned when he heard their discussion. He wanted to go over and berate them, but Ning Xuema stopped him with a wave of her hand. The more head steward Himu listened, the angrier he became. Ning Xuema, on the other hand, remained calm and collected. When she heard the last part, she smiled faintly and turned to leave. Some people can only enjoy happiness together, but they can't share trials and tribulations. It's fine if you lead them to lead a good life, but once you're bullied, they won't think about helping you turn the tables, but will only complain. This was good too. It helped her see some people and things clearly. Steward Himu didn't wait for her order and went to deal with the two little she-devils who were gossiping. During this critical period, any disloyal subordinates couldn't stay in Mo Palace. Chapter 1977. During this critical period, any disloyal subordinates could not stay in the Mo Palace. Those who should be expelled, and those who should be punished. This was the only way to stabilize the people. When Ning Xuema passed by that small courtyard, she leisurely walked in. The little lotus in the garden had already grown 3 green leaves. Each leaf was about the size of a coin. They swayed gently in the wind, and the growth was quite satisfactory. Ning Xuema squatted there and touched the leaf gently with her fingers. She sighed softly. "Julie, I am very sad. When will you come back? That bastard is getting more and more arrogant." The little lotus leaf swayed gently as if to comfort her. "I haven't seen you for half a month. I really miss you. However, my alchemy skill has been upgraded to level 8. As long as I level up, I can make the heavenly water poison and assassinate that bastard. No matter what, I must make you come back. Nianma and I both need you." Ning Xuema had been working hard these days. She stayed in the alchemy room day and night to improve her level. When she was tired, she would just take a rest. It was not an exaggeration to say that her head was hanging on the beam. As for little Nianma, he was also working hard. Too many twists and turns had made him mature early. He also worked hard every day to practice the martial arts that his father had left for him. Since his father was not around, he had to work hard to become the strongest. He would cultivate to become a god. His father's position must not be occupied by that bastard who dared to bully his mother for too long. He would protect his mother and not let anyone bully her. Ning Xuema knew that everything that happened recently was Luo Jiuqin's doing. He was forcing her to do whatever he wanted. Just like the male lead in some CEO novels, in order to get the female lead, he deliberately created a lot of trouble for the female lead and her family. He even made the female lead's family bankrupt or sent her family members to prison. In the end, the female lead was forced into a corner and had to beg the male lead. The male lead took the opportunity to sleep with the female lead. Then both of them loved and hated each other. In the end, they had a happy ending. Ning Xuema sneered every time she read this kind of novel. Now, she began to suspect that Luo Jiuqin was the male protagonist of that kind of novel. He had all kinds of tricks up his sleeve. Yes, Luo Jiuqin did use those scum male lead schemes. Unfortunately, she, Ning Xuema, did not have the temperament of a little white rabbit female lead. One day she would make Luo Jiuqin pay the price in blood. Make him regret provoking her. In her previous life, little Xuema had been completely used by this scumbag and plotted to her death. In this life, she, Ning Xuema, would never walk down the same old path. She would take revenge for her past and present lives. In the past few days, when she was extremely tired or sleepy, she would run to this small flower bed and talk to Xiaohe for a while. The weight in his chest eased. After all, Xiaohe was just a plant. She had been listening quietly. At most, she could only sway her body in the wind, which couldn't give her any extra comfort. Ning Xuema did not realize that every time she came, Xiaohe's body would sway more than usual. Even the leaves would take the initiative to touch her fingers. In fact, Ning Xuema did not really expect any response when she talked here. She just found an emotional garbage to pour out her feelings. After she finished, she would feel better and continue to work hard. "Julie, that bastard has been targeting me. In fact, I have also thought of leaving the Devil Kingdom with Nianma and even leave this continent. I don't want him to find me again." Chapter 1978. "Julie, that bastard has been targeting me. In fact, I have thought about leaving the Devil Kingdom with Nianma and even leave this continent. If he can't find me, he might let go of the Devil Kingdom. However, I can't find a way to go to other continents. The Celestial Devil Continent is too strange. There is no passage to other continents. If I hide with Nianma, that bastard will create more chaos in the Devil Kingdom to force me out. The situation in the Devil Kingdom will be more chaotic than it is now, and it will be more difficult." She was too tired. As she spoke, she felt a little sleepy. She squatted there and her body swayed. Then she fell to the ground. She was shocked and suddenly woke up. When she saw that she had knocked down a large number of flowers and plants, she was shocked. She hurriedly jumped up and looked at her body. She was so shocked that she broke out in a cold sweat. The little lotus was tilted to one side. Obviously it was hit by her. God, he wouldn't be crushed to death, right? Ning Shuima quickly stretched out her hand to help it. Strangely, the leaf of the little lotus was struggling to roll one of her fingers. Slowly it straightened up. Ning Shuima's entire body stiffened. She looked at the leaf in disbelief and whispered, "Jiuli?" Xiaohe's other leaf stretched out and rubbed against her palm. The delicate leaf gently slid across her palm, bringing with it a faint itch. Ning Shuima's eyes suddenly turned sour. Her fingers trembled slightly, but her heart was beating wildly. When she saw the little lotus, she only hoped that it was the incarnation of Shinjuli. However, deep in her heart, she still did not believe it. After all, there were so many lotuses in this world. It was not too strange for a lotus to grow in a dry land. She thought that it was the incarnation of Shinjuli. It was a very weak hope, and she did not dare to have too much hope. However, now that she saw the little lotus, her hope suddenly doubled. Shinjuli had made such thorough arrangements for his funeral. It was obvious that his soul had dissipated and he would never come back. Based on his character, he would not bear to part with Gu Shijio and little Nianma. As long as there was a glimmer of hope, he would work 100 times harder to come back. If he couldn't do it himself, it meant that the chances of him coming back were extremely slim. Now that this lotus had suddenly sprouted, was it because of what happened 50,000 years ago, or had she changed it a little? Did it give him hope of rebirth? In order to hide from people's eyes, Ning Shuima had also planted other slightly taller flowers in the flower bed, protecting Xiaohe in the middle. This way, when Xiaohe really grew up, it would not be too eye-catching. At this moment, Ning Shuima was sitting on the ground of the flower bed, deep in thought. According to what happened before she came back, it was impossible for little Shuima to be possessed by the devil. However, the purple evil should have happened, and the 6 realms were destroyed at that time. Otherwise, the 6 realms would have changed. How did the Zisha happen at that time? Could it be caused by the substitute? The substitute was created by Shinjuli, so it shouldn't have a normal mind, right? Could it be that she also had a strong resentment when she was tortured? More importantly, the substitute was, after all, a substitute and not the real Devil Lord. Even if the substitute had resentment, she did not have the ability to kill so many people, right? What happened after that? Ning Shuima found that the days when she traveled to 50,000 years ago were the same as the days here. Since she had been back for more than half a month should have passed in the other world, right? Chapter 1979. How would Shinjuli react when he realized that the girl in his arms had turned back into little Shuima? How did he spend the past half a month? She sighed faintly and stood up. She lowered her head and flicked the dust off her clothes. When she looked up, her body suddenly stiffened. A purple figure slowly appeared in the courtyard. He had white hair and a pair of eyes that were full of smiles as he looked at her. Imo Luo Jiochin. Ning Shuima suddenly took a step back and tripped over the soil under her feet. She sat down with a plop and smashed a bunch of flowers and plants. Luo Jiochin didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He walked over to help her. However, she took a step back in the flower bed and crushed a few more flowers and plants. Then she supported herself with both hands on the ground and jumped up. With this support and jump, she crushed a few more flowers and plants. Luo Jiochin. Ning Shuima finally landed outside the flower bed. She looked coldly at Luo Jiochin. Mr. Luo, entering without an invitation is tantamount to stealing. As the future lord, how can you do this kind of shady business? Luo Jiochin sighed. You think too much. I just came to see you. I haven't seen you come out these days. Don't worry, Ning Shuima said. She waved her hand and flicked the dust off her clothes. Then she turned and left. Why do you have to be so unapproachable? I'm here to deliver the invitation personally. He flicked his finger and a golden invitation card fell into Ning Shuima's hand. The day after tomorrow, the Tianji Palace of the Celestial World will hold a meeting. I hope you can attend. Ning Shuima snorted. I'm very busy. I'm not free. She opened the door. The 8 mythological beasts guarding outside heard the commotion and gathered around. They stared at Luo Jiochin like tigers watching their prey, guarding against any sudden attacks. Luo Jiochin smiled. Don't be so nervous. I won't force you. He turned and disappeared. Ning Xuema stood in place for a moment and waved her hand to disperse the 8 mythological beasts. Then, she turned around and returned to the flower bed to inspect the flowers and plants that she had destroyed. The way she fell, sat, and retreated just now seemed to be in a hurry, but she actually had a plan. She definitely wouldn't crush the tree she cared about. Luo Jiuqin's sudden appearance was definitely not a coincidence. He was most likely here to investigate her. If he found out that she was particularly interested in this flower bed, he would definitely investigate it carefully. From her actions just now, he could see that she didn't care about the flowers in the flower bed. Instead, it dispelled his suspicions. Fortunately, her skills were outstanding now. Although that bastard was invisible, she was still able to smell his scent in time. If she left the flower bed immediately, it would seem deliberate. Therefore, she continued to pat and play with the flowers and plants without batting an eyelid. Then, she got up and pretended to be startled by the sudden discovery of someone and fell down. As she had expected, there was a traitor in her Mo palace. The dense forest was verdant and lush. Normally, no one would come here easily. At this moment, there was a man in purple standing under a tree. He seemed to be waiting for someone. A moment later, a woman in blue flew over. When she saw the man in purple, she hurriedly knelt down. "My lord." The man in purple was Luo Jiuqin. He glanced at the woman in blue. "Is there any new news?" The woman in blue reported, "After my lord left, the devil lord threw a tantrum at General Manager He Mu. He scolded him for not guarding the place well enough and letting someone in. Then she went back to her bedroom and hasn't come out since." Chapter 1980. Luo Jiuqin nodded slightly and said coldly, "You said that she likes to stay in that side courtyard. I've already checked it out and there's nothing worth noticing." The woman in blue said, "She often takes her son to that side courtyard to stay for a while. I heard that it used to be the residence of the supreme divinity. Maybe she went there to look at it and miss him." Luo Jiuqin snorted. Since he had already checked it out, he naturally didn't care about that side courtyard anymore. Besides, there was no trace of Xinjiuli's aura in that side courtyard. It seemed that the woman still couldn't accept this reality. "Keep a close eye on it. If there's anything unusual, report it to me immediately," Luo Jiuqin ordered. "Yes, but I'm just a lowly cleaning maid in Mo Palace. Usually, I can't get close to the Devil Master." The woman in blue sighed. "Just ask around. Do you need me to teach you this?" Luo Jiuqin's voice was even colder. "Yes." The woman responded again but lowered her head. "My lord, Mo Palace has strict rules and rewards and punishments are clear. If someone finds out that I'm a spy, I'm afraid. It doesn't matter. Just be careful. Juan, you'll suffer there for the time being. After everything is done, I won't mistreat you." Luo Jiuqin's expression became gentle again. The woman threw herself into his arms. "But Juan is still a little scared. Don't be afraid. I'll give you the benefits you want in the future. I just want to stay by your side. I can be your servant. As long as you do well, I'll leave a place for you," Luo Jiuqin promised. The woman in blue left with satisfaction. Luo Jiuqin stood there, but the corners of his lips curled up, and there was a touch of mockery in his eyes. A lowly little demon wanted to stay by his side? Dream on. I've had thousands of people around me, but I only want you in my heart. Only you have the qualifications to stand by my side. I used you 50,000 years ago. Thinking of this, he paused. His memory seemed to have deviated. In his original memory, it seemed that he had forced little Xuema to become a demon, but now that he thought about it, it didn't seem to be the case. It wasn't little Xuema who turned into a demon, but someone else. His original memories were quite clear, but now they were a blur. The memories from 50,000 years ago seemed to be disappearing from his mind. He rubbed the space between his eyebrows and didn't really care. Perhaps it was because he had been trapped in the heavenly Tao bell for too long, but his memories of the bell were gradually becoming blurry. When he first became aware of this situation, he was a little anxious, but as time went on, he did not take it to heart. What he wanted was the present and the future that he could grasp. If he couldn't remember the past clearly, then so be it. He didn't need to take it to heart. He only needed to know what he wanted now. Xinjiuli's soul had already dissipated, so Imo would be his sooner or later. She couldn't run. He just needed to put in more effort behind her back. He didn't believe that when she was abandoned by everyone, she wouldn't obediently throw herself into his arms. When the time came, he would give her the best compensation. Before that, he still had to do what he had to do. Devil Master, it's been investigated. The traitor this time is Ah Huan. In the secret room, General Manager Himu reported to Ning Xuema. Ning Xuema nodded. It was as she had expected. Fortunately, that demoness wasn't by her side, but just a maid who cleaned. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.